just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And if you've got a spare 2 seconds, just two, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, please. Maybe a little bit longer than that. It takes about 3 or 4 seconds to open the app, type in Bloke in a Bar, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. But also make sure to follow us on Spotify as well. You can now leave a comment on Spotify. We now have clips on Spotify. But also on YouTube, we've got some huge plans for both the visual medium going forward. So you make sure to be subscribed, and it really does help the platform. Trying to get to 50K. We're nearly there. We're so close. We're at 49K at the moment. Let's get to 50K. And then hopefully after that, let's get to 100K. See how we go. 100K next 12 months? Maybe. Fingers crossed. Probably not going to happen, but who knows? Also, this is not a G-up. I am actually looking for a music producer / DJ. That is right, for a huge opportunity. I can't say what it's for, but we've already got maybe 20 or so emails, so there's heaps of people that are interested. Shoot us an email. We are looking for a DJ / music producer for a big opportunity to work with myself and the team here. As I said, I can't say what it is, but send an email through if we've piqued your interest, because it's something really, really cool, and I personally think it's a huge opportunity for both of us. Email matt@blokeinabar.com if you are a music producer / DJ, if you've got any interest in that. But anyway, the Roo, how you been, mate?
Timmy Trumpet couldn't help you over here?
Nah, Timmy Trumpet, he costs too much, mate.
Of course he does.
He costs too much.
My question, mate, what comes first? An Australian Test cricketer to score 100 or Bloke in a Bar to hit 100,000 subscribers?
Oh, wow. That's going harsh against your nation, mate.
Got to be neck and neck, I reckon.
Oh, man, that is rough, Timmy. It's the first Test, mate.
I'm just asking the question.
I love that, the good old just asking the question once.
Yeah.
Wasn't a statement, it was just a question. Hammy, how you going, brother?
Well delivered, Timmy. I'm on the same page. I'm all right, Kempy. Good to be here, but a pretty tough weekend of character building on the couch watching the cricket over the weekend. You would have been absolutely spewing.
Oh, mate, I saw this coming from a mile away. Look, I tried to tell you last week there'd be 17 wickets in the first day. I said there was going to be 17 wickets. Then I said the next day there would be only a couple, and that'd be Australia. Then after that, no wickets. I also said there'd be a young gun from India that would get out for a duck, and then he would go on hit 160 or so. I said all that. You can get the tape, rewind it. Yeah. No one ever wants to listen to Mr. Cricket anymore.
I'll have to go back and have a listen, but that's certainly not my recollection of what happened last week.
Well, you know what that is? That's my truth. That's my truth.
Okay.
And you don't get to dictate what my truth is.
Matty's been on the streets of Sydney banging his drums, flying his Indian flag the last 3 days.
Oh,
yeah,
mate.
Congrats, Matty.
Honestly, the most happy he's ever been walking into to work today.
Could not wipe the smile off his face.
Literally could not wipe the smile off his face. Also, guys, next Monday at 6 p.m, we've got a huge drop. We've never dropped these before. They are the perfect Chrissy present for either yourself or your partner, whoever it is. Next Monday at 6 p.m, we'll be releasing content maybe over this week, or we might just drop the content on Monday at 6 p.m. next week to announce what they are. But so make sure to set your alarms at 6 p.m. next Monday. We're at a huge drop, perfect for Chrissy. And this is a drop that it doesn't matter. It's not necessarily about like when we do shirts and you go, I like that design, or I don't like that design. This is a drop where, let's just say every bloke needs these. Every bloke needs these.
Second biggest drop and best drop behind hoodies, I reckon.
Okay, wow.
Big fan.
Big fan, because the boys have been wearing these for quite a while. Might have just given it away. Who knows? That's 6 p.m. next Monday, New South Wales time. Make sure to set your alarm, guys. Can't wait to this. We have seriously been working on these for so many years, I cannot express. And they are the highest quality you can get. Literally, the highest quality you can get. Alrighty, it's time to face a bit of music. Brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. A massive thank you, as always, to our Sportsbet partners. Give us a follow on the feed, guys. Look, it's been a rough trot. It's been a rough trot for me the last couple of weeks on the feed. I'm not going to lie to you. But I'm looking for a bounce back this week. So give us a follow, and you'll witness one of the great bounce backs all time on the feed on Sportsbet.
Yeah, I actually can't relate because I've been seeing them like beach balls at the moment. So get around, give me something, which is our other betting show, or just follow me on the feed. My best of the week was Boomer to get 3 or more wickets, Stark 2 or more, Cummins 2 or more in the first innings. Bit of a sweat, but we got there at about the $3 mark, and of course had Boomer top inning. We could take a first innings, which that might be a Control C, Control V job for the rest of the summer, I reckon.
Jeez.
Outrageous.
He looks unstoppable, and I don't know anything about cricket.
Yeah. It's a great point. He looks in really good form at the moment. So let's have a look at our results last week. Now, Roo, you didn't get any tips in for me last week, but great weekend to miss, to be honest with you, as we have a look at the rest of the results here. Now, important to note that one of them is still pending. That's, of course, the head-to-head result. We all went for Australia, so fingers crossed. Bit needs to go our way, though. 500 odd to get with 7 wickets in hand.
The bounce of the ball.
We'll wait and see.
I'll take India, mate.
Too late, Roo. Too late. In terms of run scorers and wicket takers, this was all for the first innings, of course. You've got to bear that in mind. So, Denon, you had Marnus to be the top run scorer in the first innings. Fair to say probably not Marnus's best knock?
No, I meant longest increase. I meant like he would be there the longest.
Well, it also wasn't the longest,
Okay.
but he certainly did muck around a little bit. And then you had, for the top wicket take, you had Paddy Cummins, which was not the case. Josh Hazlewood took the most wickets in the first dig. So a duck egg, a bit of a nudie run for you there.
Very uncommon for me. Very uncommon for me.
It is. I just get the sense you're lulling us into a false sense of security for a long summer of cricket ahead.
Absolutely.
Timmy, you were a little bit close to the mark. You actually went with Jaiswal, top Indian run scorer. But unfortunately, this is for the first innings where he made a duck.
I'm sure you said second innings.
No, so unlucky to you there, and you copied Kempy's homework with Cummins, so you missed out there as well.
You know what? I knew everyone would copy me. That's why I went Cummins, so everyone else would get it wrong.
Again, gamesmanship.
Yeah.
I had faith in you.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't have any
Kempy
faith
over
in
here
me.
playing 4D chess on Face to Music while we're all just doing our best.
I'm going to get close to winning this, just quietly.
Yeah, you're going to give it a good shake. Matty, you had Steve Smith, and this clipped up quite well for socials. I saw it doing the rounds saying that Steve Smith is going to have a huge summer.
That wasn't great. Yeah.
As a big Indian fan, what Matty was trying to do there is just put the moz on Steve Smith.
Yeah, pressure him. Put pressure on him.
First ball duck. Steve couldn't cope with the pressure. Face the music, he crumbled. You had Mitch Stark to be the top wicket taker. That wasn't the case.
Just on Stark though, I thought he was actually the best bowler. He got robbed of a couple of wickets too because Cummins just refused to review.
Are we getting into like England moral victory areas here with Matty?
Well, someone's got to claim some sort of victory because it's pretty grim reading this week. And then I had the debutant, Nathan McSweeney. He only made 10. I had Mitchell Stark as well. So none of us got on the board. Guru didn't submit any tips. You did just as well as the rest of us. Congratulations, mate. So face the music this week. Not pretty reading. It's a nudie runs across the board.
Yeah, not good for, like, we talked about us being in season now.
Yeah.
We seem to be better at footy tipping, to be honest.
Yeah, we do, which is a surprise.
That is
it's a bit of a surprise, but we're as out of form as the Aussie team at the moment. So
True.
You know, it is a long summer. Don't panic, folks, but probably not our best.
Stay
weekend.
patient, Australian cricket fans. Stay patient.
That's a good point.
Face the music brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed, and as always, a massive thank you to Sportsbet. Alrighty, it's time for the Hungriest Player, brought to you by Menulog. Another big thank you to our partners over at Menulog. Been with us for a few years now. Make sure if you're going to order food to your house, you do it with Menulog. They've supported us for years now. Get around people that support. They also support rugby league. They got around the video ref this year, so that's always good. So get around Menulog. But anyway, Hungriest Player this week is not necessarily a player, but a fighter. That is right. Carlos Ulberg. Apologies if I'm saying that incorrectly, but Carlos Ulberg is a Menulog Hungriest fighter this week. He beat Volkman Ozdemir, who was 8th ranked light heavyweight over the weekend. Use code Ulberg, so ULBERG, for free delivery this week. That's right, ULBERG for free delivery this week. Minimum spend is $30. But Carlos was incredible. So Carlos is a Kiwi, and I tell you what, so he's a light heavyweight. This was easily the toughest challenge he'd faced. I think this was on Saturday night, fought in China, I think. And he was absolutely outstanding. His ability to maintain distance and range, his striking was just a level above. And the most exciting thing about that is sometimes when you get these guys up against, these rookies, because now he's on a 7-fight win streak. And sometimes when they step up in competition and they get into that top 10 ranked, the skill set almost kind of evens themselves out, and it's almost like just an old-fashioned scrap, and they might squeak through and get the win. What was so impressive about Ulberg is his striking and range management was so silky and such a level above Ozdemir, so much so that, the commentators were saying it was a relatively close fight. Like, I disagree. I felt like Carlos had control from round one. I felt like the entire time, Ozdemir landed a couple of decent strikes. Outside of that, I thought Carlos completely controlled the fight. His takedown defense was absolutely incredible, especially late in the fight. His gas tank, which was something that we hadn't seen before, he'd been knocking blokes out pretty much in the first round for most of his fights. He went all 3 rounds. This kid's special. This kid is special. Now, I cannot wait to see how it goes. 8th ranked, like Uzdemir fought some of the best in the business. And for Carlos to go in there and not just, it wasn't like he squeaked through and just got the victory. He went in and I felt was a step above even the 8th ranked light heavyweight, which would suggest to me that his skill set, at least in striking, is as good as your top 5 to 6 if he is that far above the 8th ranked. And I get it, look, I understand styles make fights. However, Ulberg was absolutely outstanding. So our Kiwi brethren over there killing it. A massive win. So he is our hungriest fighter this week. Use code Ulberg for free delivery. Minimum spend is $30.
I'm not a big UFC guy, but I did a bit of research for you. Played rugby league as a kid. You like this, Hammy? Twice he turned down the offer to feature in The Bachelor in New Zealand.
No way.
Yeah, there you go.
He's a good sort. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he's a good-looking rooster.
As a matter of fact,
He's a part-time model, it says.
Does it really say
According
that?
to my research.
No way. He actually dreamed of playing for the All Blacks as well. So got a bit of rugby league about him and rugby union. Love that. But that kind of pissed me off a little bit that he's hot, mad fighter, also rugby league player, also potentially was probably good at rugby union as well. So that's annoying. That's annoying. Sometimes God gives all their gifts to one person.
Yeah, save time for the rest of us.
Yeah, Jesus.
Thank you.
Far out. Anyway, it was an incredible performance, guys. Seriously, it was such a composed, strong performance. Sometimes you get more out of watching a fighter for 3 rounds than you do. Like if he goes in there and just knocks him out after 1 round, even though that's incredible, and as a fighter you love that, but to see him control a fight for like this for 3 rounds against such a high-level opponent, incredible performance. Incredible performance. Didn't panic, didn't stress. He's got the gas tank to go 3 rounds. It's going to be interesting to see if he has the gas tank to go 5 rounds. An incredible fight by Carlos.
Speaking of people who have just got every God-given talent that exists, mate, I met...
what can I do for you?
I'm fortunate enough to meet Jess Fox on Friday night, the golden girl of Australian sport at the moment, and listen to her speak at a function. And, I think 3 Olympic gold medals, absolute superstar, flag bearer at the Olympics. And then on top of it, obviously a Penrith girl, a 99-8er. So for anyone outside of, I think, New South Wales at school, she's extremely top the state for PDHPE. Some people can just do everything, right?
So 90, what's that, 99-8 or what is that?
99 out of 100. Like I think the highest 8 you can get is 99.4 or 94 or something.
Is that in your...
It's a percentile.
School. Sorry, Year 12 school.
Year 12
I think
school,
Don
okay.
Bradman's batting average, 9.94.
Wow. So it's a percentile. So she's in the top 1% of the state.
Wow, in intelligence as well as physical activity. That is actually crazy.
Gee up.
What? I would love to have her on the podcast. She's got such an incredible story. And then to go there with her sister as well and that whole thing just warms the heart, don't forget, guys, DMP shirts are available now. You can buy them. If you buy a DMP shirt, you go into the draw to join myself, Tom and Eddie for the Footy Companion Round 1 next year. The only way to go in the draw is by buying a shirt. Alrighty, guys, it's time for a steamer, hot take. And I tell you what, walking in this morning, there were a few boys that were steaming about the cricket. Holy, haven't seen this much passion since the rugby league season, which is like 2 weeks ago. So ever. Hammy.
Been a while.
You come in hot this morning.
Yeah, came in hot.
You come hot.
Came in hot. Potentially having a little bit of a bet each way with it here, but I think the sentiment stands. Marnus Labuschagne is one poor game away, or potentially already staring down the barrel of being dropped from the Australian Test team.
So, and we're for the casual audience, we're talking about a guy at one stage which was ranked the best batter in the world, correct?
18 months ago, he was ranked the number 1 Test batter in the world.
What?
I'm not saying he's going to be dropped for good or forever.
If you were the coach, what would you do?
I think he needs some time off. I think he needs some time away. He looks absolutely fried, absolutely
Great
pickled.
Marnus.
Not like himself at all. So his last 10 Test innings are as so. 10, 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 90, 6, 2, 3. I think he's all over the place. And the way that he got out as well over the weekend, he got dropped on naught, hung in there for another 50 balls, looked very scratchy, got hit a couple of times, was leaving balls he should have played, and he ended up getting out for 2. Second innings, he was the last wicket to fall last night, let a ball go that hit him on the pad, burned a review in the process. He looks an absolute shell of himself where he was a couple of years ago. There's no denying he's a great player, but he needs some time out of the spotlight, I think. And I don't think sending him to Adelaide with a pink ball is going to do him any favours with Boomer and stuff. Going to get on a bit of a tear there. They may play him for one more, but if he produces what he's produced for the last couple, I think he just needs a bit of time out of the spotlight just to get himself right. So
these things don't happen in a vacuum. Often when, in rugby league at least, when you go, okay, this player should be playing reserve grade or whatever, the question is there someone better than him waiting in the wings?
Yep. Well, the answer to that at the moment is they've got Josh Inglis as the spare batter, who he keeps in the white ball stuff. He scored 2 Shield tons so far this season. He's probably the next guy off the rank. There's no one really banging the door down massively, but he just looks like he needs a break to me. I don't think having him in the spotlight's doing him any favours, to be honest with you.
A few numbers to add to it. His 52 ball 2 was the slowest strike rate in the history of Australian Test cricket for a bloke who's faced a minimum of 50 balls, which is bonkers.
Yep.
I think you mentioned a few there, but last 41 innings, he has 1 Test ton, averaging about 30 odd in that time.
I've got a question, and I'm probably going to get smashed by cricket fans, but could you argue, devil's advocate, his job was to go in there and fucking settle things down because we were getting fucking cleaned up?
I think there was a bit of chat that he even said, he's trying to soak up a bit of pressure.
That's what I mean.
But the fashion in which he was doing it, he was not in control of what was going on out there. He was all over the shop, looked confused. He wore a couple in the midriff.
But do you think that he could have been directed, and again, cricket fans, like, I'm a nuffy, I get it, but could have he been directed, mate, just go out there and fucking stay in for as long as possible till we take some pressure?
Absolutely. And you can take a bit of shine off the ball, spend some time at the crease, tie the bowlers out, that sort of stuff. But as sort of Hammy alluded to, there's a manner in which you do it, and he wasn't in control of any of the 52 balls.
When he's at his best, and when any good number 3, particularly if Australia's at their best, they're counter-attacking there, putting the pressure back on the bowler. There was none of that sort of happening. It's interesting. We spoke a little bit a couple of weeks ago. A lot of players being rested. The preparation hasn't been great. They've had 1 Test match since, their last Test match was in March. A lot of these guys just played 1 Sheffield Shield game and a couple of one-days, then rested. Some went to the Coldplay concert. I just think there was opportunities. These guys could have been playing the Australia A games, maybe against India, against these bowlers, getting a bit, apart from Bumrah, getting a bit of, some runs on the board. But they opted to not do that. I think the preparation's been really poor.
Is there a concern, and again, I'm a nuffy, but is there a concern that like club cricket is taking too high of a priority over international cricket?
Define club cricket. Because
for example, people say, the boys needed rest.
Yep.
And
what are they resting for?
But I was about to say, so if the boys needed rest, why are they choosing Australian games to rest rather than other
Sheffield,
cricket?
like state games?
Yeah, state or whatever they're playing.
Yeah.
Well, if they're preparing for a Test series, I'll be honest, there was a lot of uproar around the resting from the third Pakistan fixture, the one-dayer. It was over in Perth, and it was leading into the Test series. I actually didn't hate that much. At the end of the day, we care about World Cup wins when it comes to one-dayers. Of course, we wanted to win that series in a, third and deciding clash. But at the end of the day, Australians want to win Test cricket. And leading into a massive 5 Test series against India, I didn't mind missing that. But as you said, I wanted them playing, Shield cricket or as much red ball cricket as possible if they are going to bypass Australian white ball cricket.
Yeah, well, they took a full-blown rest. They didn't play any cricket, these guys. No. And, if I understood it last year when we went from Ashes series to World Cup, it was very congested. If they needed to chop out before the summer cricket, I understand. These guys haven't played any cricket this year, really. What are we resting about?
That's what I'm getting confused at. If they haven't played since March, did you say?
That was their last Test match.
What cricket have they played since then?
There was a one-day tour in the UK and some T20s over there. That's about it.
Yeah.
And IPL. Some of them went and played IPL.
So when I say club cricket, I'm talking about IPL as well, I guess.
Yep.
Is IPL making them fatigued?
Well, that was back in May, June. Okay, so they've had a long time to get over it. I
know this is a stupid question, guys. I'm just from a casual audience perspective.
And unfortunately, with the IPL, it's just money talks and the absurd amount. Like the auction started last night. We saw the cash that they were going for. Players going for, was it $5 million?
Yeah, Pant and Aya both went for $5 million. Not bad for 6 weeks' work.
Yeah, so it's like when you sit there and go, of course you want to focus on Australian cricket, but as if you're going to tell a player he can't go and get his $2-3 million for 5 weeks' work.
Just on Marnus.
So it's only 5 weeks. So I guess what I am, and I know this sounds silly, but what are they resting from?
No, I'm with you. The same question stands for me.
Yeah, you're right. Other ones, a few of the Australian players, or went over and played the county cricket in England as well, which is through our winter, their summer over there.
Yep.
And got enough cricket under the belt there. So then there's also things like the Vitality Blast and the UK 100 tournament, a bit more white ball cricket. There's cricket going on.
Because the way I look at it is I'm just comparing it to rugby league, and I go, okay, let's say round 1 is approaching, and India versus Australia, that's like round 1 for us. I'm assuming similar-ish. So how come there weren't preseason trials? Again, guys, I know that sounds stupid, but as in how come they weren't playing cricket that was setting them up to be ready?
No, you're asking the great question, which I'm on board with as well. So what they would usually do for that is go back and play for their states in the Sheffield Shield, and then they picked an Australia A versus India A kind of series. So India sent some players out here to get some reps up. A couple of those guys have featured in this game and gone really well. That was an opportunity, I'd say, to put guys like Marnus, Steve Smith, guys that are struggling for form in to go and find some. They didn't do that. They had a rest. What are they resting from? I don't
The best
understand.
one, and again, it's not overly viable because of the white ball cricket and the money that's involved in it. We want our best playing all three formats, ideally T20, one days, which, at the end of the day, Hazelwood, Stark, Cummins, they are our best quicks across all formats, which isn't necessarily like that with all the international teams. Like Nathan Lyon, he went over and played county cricket. This is like long form, red ball cricket in England. Great preparation because it's like they're getting reps under the belt.
And he's one of our older players as well, isn't he?
Yeah. So he was there, he did it, but he's obviously not in the Australian like ODI and T20 setups as such. So he had the opportunity to do so.
He was only allowed to play 3 games as well by Cricket Australia, so he didn't get overworked as well. Yeah. So I just don't understand why are they
There's
being
got to
so.
be something behind it. Like surely, because they would have the best strength and conditioning, that of all the numbers.
Yep.
Maybe they've looked at some of the data and has the last couple of years fatigued the boys. There'd have to be some reasoning. They wouldn't just go, boys, just have a rest. They'd have to have some data that suggests they should have a rest. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
The other one on top of it, like to Hammy's argument, it's such a tough one to approach, but you talk about replacements for Marnus Labuschagne if it was to happen, if he was to get dropped, and you like Josh Inglis. We were speaking pre-show about it, but Inglis, I sort of said, God, it's a good opportunity to let him play. Like there's shield cricket going on at the moment. An opportunity to go out there, get runs for his state, and then go, all right, you're in, Marnus, you're out. But Hammy made a good point. The concussion sub.
Yeah.
It happens so rarely, but if a player is to be forced out of the game due to concussion, who's the next man up? It's Josh Inglis, but it deprives us of that time, the opportunity of state cricket. That's an example of one player, but very relevant to the Marnus argument.
I mean, is it a massive concern that we've got one guy that can come in and play maybe for Marnus, and outside of that, there's no other names being tossed up?
Yes.
Yeah, it is a bit of
because even Sweeney didn't go great in his Test debut.
Even who? Sorry,
is it Sweeney?
McSweeney.
McSweeney. Sorry, McSweeney.
And even McSweeney was like a middle order batsman or a 3-4 to open the batting.
Go and face the best fast bowler in the world.
Question, and again, this might be really silly. Why did we have a debutant taking the first ball after India declared?
Yeah, there's a lot of chat about that. Should Usman potentially have gone, I'll soak up a bit of pressure here. But the argument to that is maybe McSweeney goes, the best way for me to settle down is to get out there and
have a hit early?
Yeah.
They would have had that conversation.
Yeah.
They had the convo about who wants to face it, and you can only assume McSweeney said, we'll put it this way, Usman hasn't gone and said, I'm not doing it. So I can only imagine McSweeney said, no, I'll cop it, I'm ready to go, let's do this.
Yeah. I just wonder, and just from a purely sporting perspective, in such a crucial moment where we can't afford to be losing wickets, it's more important to not lose wickets than it is to give a young fella a crack at the first ball. My priority list, it's great that this young fella wants to have a go, but it's more important that we don't lose a wicket right now, and I want to put my best guy in there, which would be Usman.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know. We probably won't find out because the whole line from Australia will be like, no, he wanted to do it. He said he wanted to get
Someone
out there.
should pull rank then. That's where I think that they should go, love that you want to do it, but we are in a position right now where we're so far behind that we can't really afford to take that risk.
Yep.
I fully appreciate your point, and you might be right.
I don't know if I'm right. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
In my eyes, it's all about like an opening batsman, first test. It's all a mental game. It's all in your head. And if he's sort of said, no, I want it, I think, all right, mate, you're confident, you want to face it head on, take it on.
And to be clear, I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I don't know enough about cricket to have a good opinion on it.
Don't sell yourself short.
No, I'm just a devil's advocate here.
Yeah. Just on Marnus, I was going to say, I also feel the batting has been a little bit not where he'd like it to be, and we know he's been the number one batter in the world when it's all together for him. I feel like he's spending a bit too much time on other stuff. He was a part-time leg spinner. He spent a lot of time trying to get this seam-up bowling stuff going. I don't know what we were doing there. Why, when you've got 3 of the best quicks in the world, you've got Marnus Labuschagne coming on to be the enforcer bowling short stuff. that was a very tough watch. I don't know what others thought about that yesterday. I thought it was almost a bit of a low point there as an Aussie cricket fan.
Yeah, I was going to say, question, that last 30 minutes where we were almost time wasting, is that a fair
bowling for
assessment?
a declaration, basically, yeah.
Like, when we're already losing by so much, to almost, unsportsmanlike is probably the wrong word, but like to use that kind of tactic to save us maybe, 20 runs?
Yeah.
Is that a rough amount that we're trying to save ourselves there? Maybe 20 runs?
Yep.
Is it worth us looking that bad to not get 20 runs put on us when we're already behind by so much?
Yeah, I guess it's like when you get to that point, it's usually you're basically waiting for the other team to declare by that point.
Yeah, okay.
And all they needed to do was get Virat to 100. I think was exactly when they declared. So they were just going, how can we make that process take as long as it can? So that's when the negative bowling came into play.
And that's where it's like, we've made a bit of egg on our face, and it's off the back of the captaincy of Jasprit Bumrah, who I think second test captaincy, obviously filling in for Rohit Sharma, who will come back in later on in this series. But he got them on the front foot, the Indians. In that passage where they had so much time to play with, 2.5 days, they could have sat there and batted out, played very, very cautiously, gone through to early tomorrow and that sort of thing, given Kohli extra time. And he said, to Jaiswal, Kohli, Pant, all these blokes just said, no, play aggressively. I want to crack at them tonight. Did it. Obviously, Kohli brought up his ton just before on the declaration, and then they went bang, came out and took 3 wickets. Like, Bumrah, very early days, he hasn't put a foot wrong as a captain, and I think so many test captains over the years have been way too cautious, and some of our better ones as well. So aggressive, and it's worked a treat thus far.
So what has changed for India? Why have they gone from getting smacked around by New Zealand to smacking us around? Are we just not going that good? Or are they just going great?
Well, we had poor preparations we've touched on. Not enough players played enough red ball games leading into the summer. I feel there's a few that look underdone, including the skipper, Pat Cummins. They will come good. I think, particularly some of those, I would anticipate he'd come good, but he looks a touch underdone. The other thing is just India just seem to grow another leg when they play Australia. We haven't won a Border Gavaskar series here or there for 10 years. So I don't know what it is, but I did kind of say it last week, even though Kohli looked pretty busted coming into this, I was like, I just got this weird feeling he's going to grow another leg against Australia. And he kind of did the other day. And we bowled them all back into form. All those guys that were struggling all got a few runs now. And they're only going to get better. Sharma and Gill will come in for the next test as well.
He's got, I think, 7 test tons against Australia now. I think it's his 10th international ton in Australia. 7 tons against Australia.
But 7 against Australia in Australia.
In Australia.
Plus
in
number
Australia.
2.
Yeah. And he, as Hammy said, we've played Kohli back into form. I don't need double check this, but I don't think he'd scored a test ton in 23 months, almost 2 years. So there's that. There's Rahul, who'd been out of form as well. He came out and hit 75, 80 odd as well. So that's the biggest concern moving forward, that we have played the out of form batsmen back into it. I have no concerns about our bowlers, I'll be honest. I think, yes, the second innings was terrible, but they also got very little support from the fielders as well. Like, Carey put down a catch. Jaiswal was put down by Uzi, I think Carey. There was Travis Head at third man, where he came in off the boundary as well. I don't know if that was his decision or if it was Cummins, but whilst it was bad, we also rolled them for 150 in the first innings. Like, people are forgetting that very quickly. The issues with the batting across the series, I think our bowlers are world class. They'll bounce back from this, from a terrible innings, but the batting's where there's just a lot of issues.
Could it be a situation of, because we didn't have much prep, it's almost like that round one game where you see an NRL team come out and they look so disjointed and you're like, what the hell? And they just need that one hit out. They come out the next game, they're like, yep, they're back to where they're at.
Here's another argument. We've had Australia put the first test in Queensland in Brisbane for as long as, well before I was even alive, because we always win there. And now there's this argument, why did we move away from the Gabba? Because, to your point, the first test, you may be a little bit underdone, but the conditions suit Australia so much, so you always get a 1-0 lead there. I know India did beat us there last time, I know that, but there's that argument as well. Why did we move it away from the Gabba?
And to follow on from that point, Matty, like going over and playing in Perth for the first test, a lot of concerns about, were our bowlers underdone? Like, did they look tired? They looked exhausted. Playing over in Perth, India, it wasn't a spin-friendly deck. And it's always favoured the quicks and the extra bounce in the pitch, which, to be fair, can help Lyon as well, who's has one of the best abilities to get bounce out of a deck for spinners in world cricket. But, like, India didn't pick Ravi Ashwin, Jadeja, 2 of the better spinners India have ever had, and certainly as an all-rounder in Jadeja. Went against them, they had Washington, he bowled a handful of overs as a spinner. Lion didn't get much purchase out of it at all. So then, because there's so little spin efficiency in the deck, the quicks have had to bowl a lot of overs. They ran out of steam, so that has not helped one bit either.
I touched on it last week, I think, and on the B team a couple of weeks ago, the Cam Green being out, Mitch Marsh having to do a bit more bowling. He bowled 5 overs in the first innings. We bowled about 150 in the second, and he bowled 12 of them. Was off the field a lot, getting treatment, all that sort of stuff. I got some big concerns that, we're going to need an all-rounder who can bowl a lot more than that. So my man Bo Webster is playing right now. Probably by the time this comes out, he might have nicked off early, but he's currently not out at the crease at the SCG. If he gets some runs in this game and a couple of wickets, I still feel he could have a bit of a role to play in the series as well.
I think you're very harsh on Mitch Marsh. Again, he got 17 overs out across the 2 innings, 3 for 77. So he took 3 wickets as a, bat-heavy all-rounder. He's a reigning AB Allen Border medal winner. He hit a 97 or something in Shield only a month or so ago. So I just think, again, the fact that Nathan Lyon hasn't had his impact and it was so favourable to the quick bowlers, we go throughout the series. Lyon's going to take up a lot more overs. Marnus can bowl leggies. He can take up a few more overs. I don't think we need a lot of overs out of Mitchell Marsh, so I think you're very harsh on him.
I don't think Marnus will be there for the bulk of the series. I reckon next game you might get away with it, pink ball in Adelaide. The last 3 of the decks will be real flat. You're going to need a guy to bowl 15, 20 overs. I don't think Mitch Marsh can.
But even all right, let's say you take Marnus out and his overs, and I don't mean his medium paces, I mean his spinners. Travie Head, he can bowl a few as well. He can get a few out of him. Again, our bowling attack's world class. I think this second innings of India's, I think it was a one-off. I really do.
I think you're going to need a 4th seamer, and I reckon these guys having to bowl for almost 2 days, that's going to have a compounding thing for the rest of the series. 1 or 2 of these guys are going to have to get rested or will get an injury.
All right. If you wanted another seamer and you weren't confident of Mitch Marsh, could you bring Bo Webster in for Marnus, or do you think you'd prefer Inglis?
Yeah, I could see that. Maybe they go, Mitch, you just bat, and they bring him in. But I feel like there's going to need to be they're going to need some seam overs from someone else.
There you go. Totally agree with both of you, which doesn't make any sense.
Chances.
Thought about chiming in on about 8 occasions with the most pointless shit imaginable. I'll stay away.
Also, guys, Grumpy Coffee, it's back. That's right, we're restocked. You can go to our website. The pods are back. The beans are back. The ground should be back. If at the very least, the ground should be back by the end of the week, but it should be back as we speak. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab yours. Now, if you have any issues, please go to the website and leave an email so that we can get to it. If that doesn't work, go to the Instagram, shoot me a message, and we'll make sure to get through any orders. We thank you so much for the patience over the last couple of weeks. Just stuff come up we just did not expect out of nowhere, but it's been sorted now. So yeah, we're all good to go. Grumpy Coffee is back, so make sure to go to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab your coffee. Any issues, make sure to go to our website, leave us an email, and then if that doesn't work, come to the Instagram, on Grumpy Instagram, shoot us a message. The best coffee in all the land. We are back in, everything's back in stock, and I cannot wait to get it out to you guys. And as well, thank you so much for your patience, guys. Starting a new business is always a tough gig, especially when you're not expecting how much, just how big it's going to be. So thank you so much to everyone's patience. But from now on, we should just be good to go. On we go. There should be no more dramas in regards to stock and everything like that. So thank you so much for your patience. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? Benny Hunt. I'm going to be real short on this segment because I think we're all kind of sick of talking about Ben Hunt. Not actually Ben Hunt's fault, but just the whole thing around it, of who he's going to sign with, who he's not going to sign with, people dropping out, people being back into it. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to be quick in my opinion of it all. It seems like everything is happening to try to get him back to the Broncos. That's why this seems to be taking as long. It looks like the Broncos are trying to find space in the salary cap to get Ben Hunt in. Otherwise, he probably would have just gone boom straight to the Dolphins, or at least Bulldogs or Roosters. I think that it's looking more and more likely, if the NRL do approve it and the Broncos can find space, it'll end up there. At the very least, I think he'll either land it there or the Dragons, there or the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think Ben Hunt's putting up in neon lights. He wants to be at the Broncos. Yeah, and once again, as you said, it sounds like the Broncos are trying to free up cash to be able to sign him for this season. And I mean, if the Broncos aren't able to, and I'm the Dolphins, do you really want to put Ben Hunt somewhere he doesn't want to be again?
Especially when you're offered so much.
If he hasn't already said yes to it, I I'm starting to wonder if I'm the Dolphins, if you just go, no, we're good.
I guess if you're the Dolphins, you got to ask yourself, like, yes, that isn't great that he wasn't our first preference, but is it better to have Ben Hunt here teaching Katoa over the next 2 years than not?
Yeah, that's fair.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's just a tough one. It's a hard, because like I think it's pretty evident Ben Hunt doesn't want to be there. He'd be there already if he wanted to, I think.
I think it's hard. Like, doesn't want to be there is a tough one. He may want to be there, just not as much as he wants to be at the Broncos.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. But if you're going to make, if you're going to sign him as like a marquee guy, you want.
For sure. I guess the other problem for the Dolphins that they face is that then they're going into another season with just $1 million sitting in their cap.
Yeah, and you are right. Once again, are you better off having Ben Hunt standing next to Isaiah Katoa for 2 years? 100% you are.
Yeah.
You're better off having an experienced player there.
I think in a perfect world, though, you go, mate, it's a big offer.
Yeah.
If you're keen, let's go. But they're probably just not in the position yet to be that strong, I guess.
Especially when it's not like they're competing with just another club. Like, it's the Broncos.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Tim?
It's a very tricky one, isn't it? Because my head tells me that I'm with Roo that, you're splashing out big money for him. You've wanted him for a fair while, and he's sitting there waiting for the bigger brother, the Broncos, and he's willing to, by the sounds of it, take a pay cut to go there rather than come to you. I just want a player that's all in. As you said, it's a key when it's a marquee player. And you're going to build around this bloke, albeit not long term, but for the next 2 years, in what you can achieve. So I lean towards that, but as you said, the upside of what he can do for Katoa moving forward, and as you said, if they don't get Hunt, what do they do with that extra money? We're getting closer and closer to next season very quickly. I lean towards just you building something. No, we want players that can play, but then the other side to it with Ben Hunt is, even when he was at the Dragons and clearly didn't want to be there, he still put up exceptional footy, so he's kind of different.
It is, and also you just, we can sit here and make the assumption that he's waiting for Broncos. But when you're speaking to Ben Hunt and his management and they're telling you, no, actually, that's not the case. Where, you know what I mean? It's very easy for us to sit here and go, oh, he's waiting for the Broncos. But the Dolphins would clearly be in dialogue with him. And I'm sure they're not saying to the Dolphins, oh, we're just waiting for the Broncos. And so it's easy for us to go, oh, yeah, just, not that we're saying just brush him and move forward. But it's easy for us to go, oh, yeah, he's just going to go to the Broncos, and if he can't go there, it's second best, when I'm sure the Dolphins' dialogue with him is quite positive. I was going to bring up your point that you brought up too, Timmy, is he has proven, even when he's at a place he desperately wants to get out of. I mean, even last year, especially the back end of the year, when he didn't have his best year, he still had 30 plus tries.
He's too much of a competitor.
So it's again, I would just try to remove ego from the situation and go, okay, yeah, sure. Externally, it doesn't look great, that he's potentially waiting for the Broncos. But what is best for the club going forward? It's probably 2 years with Katoa. Sorry, what's best for Katoa going forward, who is our guy for the next 10 years, it is probably Ben Hunt teaching him the highs and lows of being a first grader. And all of a sudden as well, at the moment, they're going into a new year with Katoa, most likely Nikorima as the 6 and 7. We know defensively that just hasn't seemed to work. Ironically, Benny Hunt's defence sometimes can't be great, but it's better than Nikorima's, in my opinion. And so I guess if you're the Dolphins, you're the Broncos stuff, the Roosters, the Bulldogs stuff. However, we're going into a whole nother year with $1.2 million in the cap. That is just, it's almost it's tough.
It'd be super interesting if this year incoming was Wayne Bennett's last year there.
Yeah.
Wayne Bennett, if maybe that would be a big enough chip.
Yeah.
To convince him as well.
I guess the tough thing as well is although our Broncos immediately under Michael Maguire a premiership threat, I think if the playing group reacts positively, maybe, but we don't know that. Whereas the Dolphins, they're just probably not a premiership threat at this stage. They're a top 8 threat for sure, but so there's also that. Hammy, what do you reckon, mate?
Are we putting a line flat out through the Roosters that he won't go there anymore?
Well, they've reportedly gone a bit cold on it.
Yeah, we certainly haven't heard much from him in the last little bit, but I still feel like he's a good fit for those guys. I feel like the Broncos, the chat earlier was they needed to let a couple of players go to facilitate, having enough money to match his price. They didn't do that. They kept a couple of guys they were talking about letting go. So I just don't know how they can get him. So, I mean, the Dolphins thing still makes sense. I like your point there, but about getting Katoa, teaching him a little bit, but I still think he's going to end up at the Roosters. That's what my gut tells me.
It just feels odd that the Roosters have just their halfback's out for half the year, the hooker's out for half the year, Luke Keary's gone. Like, it does seem odd that with a big fish available, and they must have some money there, the Roosters.
Well, I found it surprising that all of a sudden there were reports saying that he didn't want to leave Sydney. And I was like, I think that could be the only reason why he doesn't land at the Roosters, in my opinion, would be because he genuinely is like, I am going back to Queensland. Like, yeah, my management's put out there that I'm willing to stay in Sydney, but when the rubber meets the road, as we like to say, he probably does want to go back to Queensland, because that was the initial yarn.
Yeah,
it was I want to get back to Queensland. So, but it is weird. Like, the Roosters are desperate because they're going into next year going, I think a lot of people would have them outside of the top 8 with their current roster with the injuries they've got.
Especially after Terrell May left last week. Like,
yeah, that's crazy actually. Now if they don't get Ben Hunt and Terrell May left, it's like, what was that for?
Yeah.
Geez, the Roosters, aren't they in such a weird position?
I just can't see them going into next season without getting a big fish.
Yeah.
And he's the only big fish that is
He's out
available
there.
at the moment.
Yeah.
It just doesn't add up.
Whatever it's, I think it was Tom last week on the podcast, or it even might have been one of you. Someone said that, like, it's almost like a horror movie. It's too quiet. Or maybe it didn't mean Hammy. It was you, maybe?
No, it wasn't me.
Maybe Tom.
Great line, though.
Yeah, the Roosters, it is like a horror movie because it is way too quiet.
Yeah.
They've let all these people go.
Yep.
And there's been no signings.
Yeah.
None.
Well, and if he signs with Brisbane, fucking every other team should be worried about their star. They're not going to go in to next season with deck chairs at halfback and hooker and everything. Like, they need to find players.
And also, there's talk that Cheese is getting pressured to move as well.
Fuck,
Something's going on there.
Them going into 26, they could have an absolute war chest to go into.
Could get some good deck chairs with 1.2 million.
Great deck chairs.
Yeah, so look, oh man, it's a tough one because the Roosters, when they want their man, it'd be almost like the first bloke they don't get, really.
Yeah.
I know the Fafita thing happened, but that was they did get him, and then whatever happened. Anyway, the Ben Hunt thing, I'll be glad when it's over. Put it that way. I'll be glad when it's over.
Same here.
Alrighty, guys. Michael Maguire says Broncos salary cap has space to re-sign both Stags and Cobbo, as well as signing Benny Hunt. 3 NRL clubs that have reportedly expressed interest in Cobbo. I think, again, pure speculation, but I think Michael Maguire is saying that under the impression that he's going to sign them on much less than probably what they're expecting. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because there's no way Sol and Cobbo and Tony Staggers are sitting there going, oh yeah, we're going to take $500K, origin level outside backs that can get probably $600 to $700K somewhere else. So my assumption would be Michael Maguire is probably going, we've got space in the salary cap to sign them for much less than they probably want. It's interesting though, I guess. Yeah, thoughts, Ruth? Thoughts on those comments?
Who'd be your priority out of those 3? If you could only look, because I personally don't think they'll keep all 3 of them. I think if they could do that, Ben Hunt would already be a Bronco.
Yeah, for sure. I've said this quite a lot. My main priority, and maybe it's a bit of a non-answer, but it's just like, honestly, outside backs are not my priority right now at the Broncos. It is having enough money to make sure we've got the right people behind when Reynolds moves on. It is making sure that Blake Moser, who is currently, I think he's available to talk to other clubs at the moment, making sure he gets his upgrade, making sure Kobe Black, if he turns out unfortunately, the Broncos, we're going to have to take some risks on some young fellas. Or we're going to have a massive war chest to go into the market again, like we did with Reynolds. But at the moment, like what good half is coming off contract for 26? Like they're all locked up.
Yeah.
And
Moser can talk now, and Kobe Black's locked up till 26.
So but like Kobe, he's going to need an upgrade in probably 26 even. Like I know he's contracted then, but
yeah. Well, put it this way: November 1 next year, he can talk to other clubs.
And so my main goal is like, we've all seen Moser, especially towards the end of last year. He's going to be good if he gets good coaching, and it's like, if it's not at the Broncos, it'll be somewhere else. He's going to be a bloody good player, in my opinion. And so my main focus is, I think that the Broncos, for quite a few years now, their salary cap has been a bit too out of whack and putting too much money into not the spine. And I think there's been some reports on Broncos actually spent the least on their spine over the last few years. And so I look at it and go, look, we just need to balance our salary cap back out so most of our money is going to our spine. And so with the Stags and Cobbo one, it's going to be a situation where, unfortunately, you're probably going to be able to get more elsewhere. If you want to stay at the Broncos, it's going to have to be for a pay cut, unfortunately.
How confident are you, Kempy, that Blake Moser can be the 9 for the Broncos for the next 5 to 10 years.
I'd be shocked if he can't be. I'd be very surprised if he can't be. Now, granted, you just don't know what a player's going to turn out to be, but just if he can't at the very least be a good, solid NRL player, like that can just get guys like Reece Walsh the ball early, I'll be very surprised. And that's at the minimum.
I think behind that pack, I've got him pegged as like a top 5 hooker in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
I'm very confident.
I should say the thing is, there are clubs battling to find a quality number 9 at the moment. The stocks are not great, as I said, and they can change quickly with a lot of up and coming talent. There's also a lot of really promising number 9s at clubs like a Talon De Silva, who is meant to be, a big future potential star of the game, but behind Api Coruscant, minutes are just so limited. Like there's numerous of them, but the stocks aren't great. So as you said, he doesn't necessarily have to be a superstar number 9, but if he can be in the best 17, 18 in the NRL and be a starter, well, that might be enough.
That's what I'm saying. So, I think that he's shown enough quality that he can be, because at the end of the day, and depending what happens with Ezra, whether, the NRL come down hard and he moves on or he doesn't, let's just assume that he eventually does come back into the Broncos side. If you've got a spine with Ezra and Reece Walsh in it, and you've just got a 7 that gets around the park, you only need a 9 that gets around the park. A spine with Ezra and Reece in it, and granted, I don't know what's going to happen with Ezra, if he is there, if he's not there. It all just depends on who ends up being 6 and 7, really, because if you've got a 6 and 7 that are unbelievably on the ball all the time, really good, you just need a 9 that can just shovel the ball and tackle really well. I look at a guy like Reece Walsh, he's so damaging in attack. He almost takes a bit of pressure off the 6 to a degree with his ball playing. So I think that Blake Moser has shown enough to be a good, solid number 9 in first grade. However, I think he will be better than that, in the next, I reckon in 3 or 4 years' time, he may be pushing, because that Harry Grant will be about 30 then? About 29, 30?
Yep.
I would, if I had to bet, I would say he may be pushing for a debut in Origin. That's at his height. If he goes as well as I hope he can, at the height of it, because he is the under-19 number 9. So that's at the best version of it. In 3 or 4 years, he's pushing for an Origin debut. At the worst, I think he's a good, solid number 9 that just solid delivery, gets him around the park.
Yeah, I can see Tom Dearden going into the halves of Queensland the next 2 or 3 years, freeing up that 14 spot. I think it'll probably be Moser.
Yeah. Oof. Again, at that best. Like that's
best, yeah.
That's if everything goes really well, if the development in the environment is good at the Broncos, if he's coached really well, that's what I can see happening. Whereas there are other players where I probably, just don't have that skill set to be playing.
Because I think as well, when you look at his body shape, he's quite a big bodied Moser.
I think he's like 6 foot. He's over 6 foot.
Yeah, at times he almost looks like very unusual coming out of dummy half because he is quite rangy. I'd be happy to have him as a 14.
Yeah. And so, if anything, he has that body shape a bit like Matt Burton. He's not as big as Burton, but
actually, when I first saw him live in first grade, I actually sort of thought to myself, he looks a bit more like a 6 to me.
Yeah. So, I think he's going to be good enough to be there long term, especially when you've got a guy like Reece Walsh in the spine that is so electric he can create points. The biggest question is how quickly is Kobe Black going to be a good first grader? I don't know that yet. I'm not sure. He's got all the signs. He's ticking all the boxes in reserve, not in reserve grade, in the juniors. But I haven't seen enough of him to go, yep, he's going to be a good 7. Yeah. And also, I think that seven's sometimes almost a bit harder to tell because at 9, if you can just get through your tackles and you've got good service, that's usually good enough to be an NRL 9 if you've got a good spine. Whereas at a 7, you just don't know.
Halfbacks, you sort of need 40, 50 games.
Yeah, it's very hard to there's guys that have come in and set the world alight and then they get to their 50, 60 games and all of a sudden they just fall off a cliff. Yeah. So Kobe Black, that's who I think that they're hoping Reynolds hands the reins to when he decides to move on. Yep. And that's where I would be trying to save money for in the back line. Put it this way, I wouldn't be paying $700, $750 for a centre, unless, I know it's tough that Herbie's gone, but unless it's like Herbie or Critter. Maybe there's some other names I'm forgetting, but you have to be like winning Dally M, centre of the year. But also you've also got to consistently impact games to be getting $750K as a centre, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some centres out there that don't do that clubs need, that were willing to pay more. But I look at the Broncos and I go, put the money in the pack, put the money in the spine, and then outside backs, if they're just good enough to do their job with Reece Walsh there, that'll probably be enough.
Yeah, Yeah, I agree.
And that coming from a bloke that Katoni Staggs, I've loved what he's done for the club, and I thought he tried his heart out towards the end of this year. Unfortunately, I just don't know whether the salary cap can handle paying him $750K and Selwyn Cobbo $750K. I don't know if they could do that.
I'm really interested to see him under a new coach because, we've spoken about it for years on this podcast that, I personally think his involvements could be higher, whether that's coaching or whatnot. I'm very keen to see what Madge does with him.
Because it's when he's on, it is just...
If I'm coaching against him and I know he's going to have 10 runs, I go, thank fuck.
Yeah.
He's a nightmare to handle, but he just...
I'm interested to see him under Madge.
Coaching or not, I don't know.
I'm really keen to see him under Madge. Because there's no way Madge is going to sit out there and be a Ferrari. Madge is going to make him
100%.
Take 15 to 20 carries a game because he's so explosive and powerful. Yeah. Look, Katoni at his best is a top-tier centre that could win a Dally M, in my opinion.
Yep.
At his best. It's just a matter of can he play that year in, year out? I think under Michael Maguire, we're going to see the best of Katoni Staggs. Now, if Katoni Staggs comes out and plays to the best of his ability, then maybe you could go, okay, let's move towards the 700K mark. The problem is though, is if Selwyn also thrives under Michael Maguire, you've got to ask yourself, he's younger, and so that works in his favour, and you're not going to keep both at 750K.
And that's it. It's like. It's such a big if.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned the top centres in the game and you said Herbie Farnworth, Stephen Crichton. You know what you're going to get from them. You know they're going to impact games week in, week out, and that's why they get paid the big bucks. Whereas Staggs, he has his weeks. It's not to say he's not consistent because he is, but he doesn't impact games every single week like the other boys do. And that's what puts you into that top tier of a 750, 800K centre. Yeah,
I think so. The Selwyn Cobbo one's really interesting because if he hits his ceiling under Michael Maguire, you're looking at potentially a generational outside back. That's how good he can be talent-wise. It's just a matter of will him and Michael Maguire click. I see Selwyn as a very under Wayne, he would just absolutely thrive in my opinion. However, what I have really liked about the chat with Michael Maguire is he can see the talent in Selwyn and he wants him to be the best version of himself. And so it almost sounds like whenever you hear Michael Maguire talk about Selwyn, it almost sounds like a personal challenge for him to get the best out of Selwyn, which is exciting. What do you reckon, Hammy?
Yeah, well, I think you're right that they're not going to be able to keep both of them. It felt like there was a bit of chat towards the back end of the year about Cobbo. There was a bit of a link with the Cowboys there, maybe, about him potentially.
I think the Cowboys shut that down.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they got a lot of young, good outside backs.
It's going to be interesting to see if they can. I don't think they're going to be able to keep all of them. 2 out of 3. Might even be looking at like a 1 out of 3 there, I reckon. Like if they missed out on Hunt, I still don't think they're going to keep both of those centres because I think, to your point, they both are probably worth that kind of, and some clubs would pay 700 or thereabouts for them. I don't know if the Broncos are going to be able to afford to do that. So I don't know what order they kind of put him in terms of the pecking order to re-sign them, but I don't reckon they're going to be able to keep both of those guys. If they're looking to re-sign them.
Well, the problem with Selwyn as well is if he does hit his potential, he will get signed as a fullback.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you've got to pay him $1 million.
Yeah. So
that's also a negative. It's almost, you don't want him to go too good because then he will get $1 million and you're not going to be able to keep him.
That's a hard contract conversation with Selwyn Cobbo because, as you said, the ceiling is like a generational talent.
Yeah.
He's got ability like very few other outside backs, not even now, but like have had in the game over a number of years. But what are we going to see week in, week out? We know he's struggled at times, to bring it all together as a week-to-week footballer. He could be worth $1 million.
Yeah.
He could be worth $400,000.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't know. So that's a tough conversation.
Oh, it's a super tough. However, if he comes out and plays his potential for the first 12 to 16 rounds, there will be clubs that will, there will be lower clubs that will be willing to come down, play fullback.
And that's just like, I've never met Selwyn Cobbo. You don't hear a lot about him. He's still so early on in his career, despite his rep honours and the success that he's had to date. But the people at the Broncos, the recruitment managers, Madge will get to know him. They all know him. They know what he's like. And if they back the character and go, no, like there's been a few hiccups early on in his career, like a lot of rookies do, he'll overcome them. He's that kind of character. Well, that's when you invest. If you're not sure, that's where you go, do we go the more stable of Katoni Staggs?
Yeah.
Tough conversation.
Yeah, it's a tough call. As I said, the negative is if he gets them both playing as good as they can play, he's definitely not keeping them both. Matter of fact, he could lose them both because they're their potential is so
Could be
high.
a real double-edged sword, couldn't it? Yeah.
If they play to their potential, all of a sudden they can be willing Dally M positions. That's how much potential they have.
I think Selwyn Cobb, 22 years old, is the one.
Oh.
He's the one that I'm taking of the two.
Oh, man, he is, at his potential, some of the stuff he's done already has just been like, you can't.
Freak.
Yeah.
I find it, like, on socials, I've said the same thing. I'd rather take Cobbo. And the amount of people that are in the opposite camp, Stags over Cobbo, I think Stags, like, have we seen his absolute best? Probably not, but I think we've seen close to it.
Yeah.
Like, I look at Selwyn and you see that GI, Latrell, that sort of mould that you just go, fuck, if it all comes together,
Yeah.
you will be the best.
And he can play literally anywhere in the back line
Jumped
as well.
into lock last year.
Yeah. And so I think it's just a matter of, can he pull it all together and can he do it over a 3 or 4 year period of time? I guess that's going to be the biggest question. He's still so young. That's most rookies have that problem. Like even Staggs has had problem with inconsistency when he was a rookie. So it's not unique to Cobbo. What I do know, both at their best, absolute superstars.
The one last thing to add before we move on. What Cobbo has over Stags is versatility. Wing, centre, and to a lesser degree, fullback. But even, there's been chat of him wanting to play more fullback, and that's not going to happen with Walsh there. But Tony Stags, he's an out-and-out centre.
Yeah.
So it's a big factor too.
Yep, for sure. Alrighty, guys. Hubble Hub brings together live and upcoming sports in one view, so you won't have to jump in and out of different apps to find where to watch your favourite sports this summer. Even better, sport on Hubble Hub is integrated into one easy-to-navigate interface across your favourite apps. Hubble has an amazing Black Friday offer that is available right now. 50% off Hubble Hub, now only $49.50 up until 11:59 p.m. Sunday, 8th of December. It's sport, entertainment for less, plus it's super convenient. Buy now at hubble.com.au. Man, I tell you who needs a good day. Australian cricket. Oh man, we are absolutely stinging. Head to begoodhealth.com.au. Use code DMP for 10% off your good day. If you subscribe, you get 20% off good day. Go to begoodhealth.com.au, guys. It's, here, look. Not an ad. Literally, it's all I drink of every morning. I put my good day. It is so easy to use, guys. You got a little satchel. You put it in your pocket on the way to work or whatever. You get a bottle of water. You pour it in at any time, and you can drink it. And you've got your multivitamin sorted for the day, guys. So make sure to head to begoodhealth.com.au. Use code DMP for 10% off. And if you partner that with subscription, you get 20% off. And as you guys know, it's supporting the boys. Hello, sport. Alrighty, news broke after the Monday show. Finished last week that Terrell May has signed with the Tigers. Great signing. Love this signing for the Tigers. Funnily enough, yes, there's stuff getting leaked and there's all this drama around the Tigers and the Bateman situation. But the positive is they've signed really, really well in the off-season. I love what they've got, the people they've brought to the club. It doesn't look like they're on too bigger contracts. There's not 5-6 year deals with these guys. It's a 3-year deal. It doesn't sound like they broke the bank either for Terrell May. It sounds like they got him for a reasonable price. He's exactly what they needed, in my opinion.
Completely agree. And, if the price that's been thrown around is true, for a team that's won 3 wooden spoons in a row,
To get a goal like that.
I think they've nailed it.
Yeah.
I think most of their signings, all in all, and the prices that have been thrown around.
What are the prices thrown around?
Well, like Terrell May, I think I read 6 to 7.
Yeah, 6 to 7 is what I've read as well.
That's great for him.
Yeah.
That was my biggest concern. I know people are getting excited about the Tigers, and as am I, but looking at their squad last week, front row forward was in all sorts. They needed to sign.
And they were going to pay Stefano, I think, $1 million. That was the yarn last year, or close to it, 900
You've
or something.
won that, in my opinion.
Absolutely smashed it.
Mm.
Yeah, I reckon it's a great signing. He was, as I said a couple of weeks ago, one of the best front rowers in the comp last year. Certainly, probably the Roosters' best front rower. I reckon that's a great price for him. I would have even been prepared to pay probably a fraction more. But to have him for 3 years, you're right. That's the one area we kind of needed to beef up a bit, was the front row. I'd still love another one if there's kind of a couple more front rowers floating around, but I reckon it's a great signing.
Sorry. So it was the Tigers have disclosed their offer to the governing body, 5 years, $825K a year average, and a vehicle. That's what they were willing to offer Stefano. And so they've got Terrell May for probably around, we'll just say 700 for 3 years.
If they sign him for 800 for 3, as a team that's won 3 wooden spoons, you need a front row forward. You've got to spend that money somewhere. I still think that'd be a great get. I think they've done really well here.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great.
Yeah, for fantastic signing. As you said, Hammy, it's what you need. You needed, like Stefano out, big, mobile, big minute front row forward. Terrell May's the exact same thing. Potentially better. So
he's more minutes for sure.
Yeah.
Like he can punch out 65
incredible.
minutes. Yeah.
The only concern you have is he going to be able to do it over like 20 weeks straight? Because it was at the Roosters, like he'd play these incredible minutes and Robbo would give him 30 minutes a week. It was almost like Robbo took time off to prepare.
I will say though,
minutes.
the big minutes, they weren't like, all right, mate, go out and give us 60, 65. He was playing 80-minute games, which is absurd. So it's like, but you're right. Then the following week he'd do a 25, whatever. I don't know if that's because he couldn't, but it was just like that.
Well, you speak to Terrell and he's very confident in his fitness. He's like, at least when I hang out with him for the podcast, like very confident in his fitness.
Yeah, and I'm sort of just playing devil's advocate on it just because we haven't seen it consistently. But the other thing with him, mate, and probably just speaking how confident in his fitness, like he seems to get better the longer the game goes.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about him.
Yeah.
That's what does give me confidence he'll be okay. But it is the one thing that I do have because he's got no choice. He has to play 60 minutes. In the pack.
I think the only it's a question. It doesn't mean that it's true. It's just a matter of now. I guess he's got an added pressure of he's the guy. Whereas at the Roosters, he had the ability to go, man, I just go on there and fucking rip and tear, enjoy myself. I can go on. And I personally think that he'll embrace that. I think he actually will enjoy being the guy. I think it'll bring the best out of him. But it is more pressure that some people don't actually do really well under. They actually enjoy better being not the guy. Whereas now at the Tigers, he is the guy. He needs to impact every game.
And not even like the pressure of, all right, mate, you're our main, our strike front row forward. You've got to stand up the pressure of that. He's got enough runs on the board now across the last 2 seasons, and then he gets away from, Rhea Hargreaves, Lindsay Collins, these, more noted front row forwards, the bigger names in the team. Teams are going to come at him.
Yeah.
They're going to work out the chinks in his armour. They're going to go, all right, why is he able to play big minutes? Let's get this out of him and that. Like, teams work it. So there's that pressure as well, because when you're the go-to front rower, teams go at you. He's got the target on his back.
Well, every time they're doing a video session, they're watching Terrell May's carries, and every time he touches the ball, they're shooting up out of the line to hit him. Whereas when they're playing the Roosters, they're shooting up at Hargreaves, they're shooting up at Collins, or Spencer Leniu even. However, Terrell May as an athlete is actually incredible, athletically. So if he fully buys into that role, I actually think it'll make him even better. I think that if he fully buys into what he needs to bring to that side, at the very least, he has the athletic, physical gifts to handle it. If he can fully mentally buy into it, I think he'll be even better for it.
And it's funny, like when you look at him and Appy, the other guy in this team, like they could be the best two things to happen to each other at the Tigers.
Like the offloads and that.
I was about to say the
Fucking
exact
nightmare.
I was about to say a not so hot take, but Terrell May to be the top try scoring front row forward next year. Him off the back of Appy, he could score 10 tries next year.
And I'd be, maybe Benji will pull it out of his game, but I think he might even top the offload count for front rowers next year as well. I think that Benji will try to lean into that and say, mate, when you got Appy Coruscant around you, get that hand free and give it to him and just go.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think it's very exciting signing. I know there's a lot of clubs trying to get a hold of him. So often we're kind of like in the mix but miss out, but very excited to have him on board. What are your thoughts on Gus Gould's comments around the squad the Tigers got together now as a top 8 side? A little bit too excited?
You never know with Gussie because he can throw stuff out there for other reasons.
Yeah.
Because he's such a smart operator. Sometimes it can be to add pressure, or look, he might just mean it. He just might mean it. Me personally, I don't think they're a top 8 side yet. The biggest worry is actually not really their roster. It's just all the off-field stuff. I don't want to hear about anything going on in the club. Look, keep your standards, be super tough. Set a new, direction and head for it. And Richo, we know how good he is. He's done it before. I just don't want to hear it in the media.
They could sign Cleary, Turbo, and Payne Haas next year, and I still wouldn't be convinced they're not going to win the wooden spoon because it's the off-field. It's like they've had good rosters in recent years, and they've still won the wooden spoon. It's like there's more to it than just what goes on field.
And look, I'm confident that we know Richo can do it. He's proven it. He's a good club operator. It's just the hangover from everything that's happened before. It might take Shane Richardson time to clear out all the leaks and the holes and that's the one thing I get a bit worried about is like, let's say you lose 2 or 3 games and then all of a sudden a player manager or someone at the club or whoever starts leaking stuff, and so if that can get sorted, then they could almost be like the Dragons of last year, where they're like hanging around the 8 and they put a bit of pressure on it, then they just fall away at the end. But at the moment, I don't have them in the top 8, but I do have them improving.
Yeah, I have them improving. I have them still in the bottom 5 or 6, though. I think top 8's a little bit unrealistic in the first season.
Yeah.
They've got like the spine that they've got now. It has the potential to be the second best spine in the NRL behind the Melbourne Storm in maybe not this year, but like 2026, because you get a few more games under the belt of Lockie Galvin, Dream Buller, but depending on how Jerome Luai goes at number 7 and as the chief playmaker, the potential there is huge. But there's also a lot of question marks, isn't there?
Yeah, and you'd need Buller to continue to take multiple steps up.
Lockie Galvin, freak, second year syndrome. It's a big thing. It happens. Dream Buller is a perfect example.
Yeah, and then the only problem is Appy aging out whilst they begin to hit their straps.
Yeah.
But they've got the good thing at the Tigers is they've got some young fellas coming through in those key positions.
I still think as well, like even with May, I think he's a great signing, but I still think like 1 or 2 injuries in that pack and it looks slim all of a sudden.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't have them in the 8. I do think they're headed in the right direction. And also, it's the way they've gone about it. Like, what I like about their signings is they haven't gone and said, okay, here's a friggin' 5-year contract that's $1.5 million a year. Like, even the Luai thing, it's at the time it seemed like a fair bit, 1.2 or around the $1.1 million mark. Now, when you look at it and go, look, as I always say, in the new salary cap. But when you look at what he did at Penrith this year at 7, all of a sudden you go, yeah, $1 million for Luai, I can see that.
They'll be the most anticipated watch for week 1 of trials come February, because I can't wait to see what this side produces.
It's the key for me is it's the Luai factor and knowing now that he has enough weight in the NRL to walk into a locker room and say, this is the way it's going to be, boys, and get behind me. Whereas I think a couple of years ago, I don't know if he had enough weight as a player because of the whole yarn of like he needed Nathan Cleary. This last 12 months, it was great for the Panthers. It's even better for the Tigers.
Yep.
Like his last 12 months benefits the Tigers dramatically because now he walks into a locker room as one of the game's biggest superstars. But it's just, it doesn't matter if it's true or not whether he can lead a club. All that matters is that the players believe he can. And I think the players do believe he can because of what the season that he had this year.
It's a really good point how important the last 12 months has been between Origin and the Panthers. Like, you got to remember, 14 months ago, he came off in the grand final and Jack Cogger came on and starred.
And it was like, oh, we don't even need Luai anymore. Like, Cogger could have been the main man. That was the yarn.
Like, I've even had people, this offseason say, it'd be interesting to see how Cleary goes without Luai. I almost fall off my fucking chair.
That was not the yarn.
The last 5 years, it's been Luai shit.
Yeah. And this is
unbelievable.
And this is a Luai that went up to Suncorp and was a key contributor to a victory for Origin. Like, he's got and as I said, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. He just needs the playing group to believe he's the man.
Yep.
And that's all that matters.
And then the other factor that's going to benefit as well, coming from that Penrith side, is with Taruva coming over, the best thing that could ever happen for the Tigers is probably Taruva getting dropped, because he's had a blessed run through early on in his career with the Panthers and in the NRL, Fonua Taruva. Coming over from, a couple of premierships there, coming out from that to the Tigers, he could be going, how easy is this? My team rock stud, I'm a gun. And we've seen it with a number of players leaving the Panthers where they have struggled a little bit at other clubs. But Taruva getting dropped by Ivan Cleary at that stage, it's just a wake-up call of, no, like this, it doesn't all come easy. Like, We've got to work for every inch to be an NRL player week in, week out.
Where would you play Jack Burt? Where do you see him fitting in?
Yeah, interesting. I reckon he's probably going to play one of two positions. Either probably centre is the one that I'm most confident that he might play.
Yep.
Or potentially 13. But I reckon probably
I'll be going him and doing the centres. Some real.
We've got Olam as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Olam kills it and gets back to his best form, for sure, put him there. But at the moment, I'd just be putting starch defensively in the centres.
Yep.
And I know Olam's defence has a lot of starch, but sometimes read-wise. Olam at his best, definitely have him in centres. If he struggles a little bit for form, I'd be putting Dewey and Bird there, and I'll be like, boys, I just need you to be the best defensive centres you can possibly be.
I think Jack Bird is the one that everyone's slept on with all these big name signings around the Tigers. I think Jack Bird, if he can keep himself fit and healthy, I think he's the Nathan Brown of last season, where he'll be on great value, and I think he could have a stormer of I just have such a high opinion of him, but a few factors, being at a bit of a disgruntled Dragons club for a number of years, along with injuries and all sorts of things.
Sorry to interrupt, but like when he's playing, he's always played well. Like when he is on the field and fit, he's usually one of the better players on the field.
Yeah, I think I pray that he can stay fit. I think he's in for a huge year.
And you would have him in the centres as well, or?
I don't really care, to be honest,
Yeah.
because I see a bit of a hole in both positions potentially. I'd probably see the bigger hole being as an edge on the edge, because you've got Fonua there, Samuela Fonua in one spot, Seyfarth.
Man, Fonua with another year on his belt,
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, Seyfarth, he can do a job, but I'm also more than happy to have Jack Bird there. I don't know if Bird sort of has a preference, but as you alluded to, Kempy, with Justin Olam, you don't really know what you're going to get. His best is outstanding, but there's a lot of off games there. So I just think you play him wherever you need him. When you get to round one, you go, do we need a centre? Do we need a back rower? How good's Seyfarth been? How good's Olam been? You pick him accordingly.
I like him in the outside backs just for his experience.
Yeah.
I just like him there. And I'd even consider, I know Dewey would not do this, but Dewey at 14, I like the fact that he can play so many different positions. Like if, let's say Olam is killing it, and then you've got Bird in the centres there as well, and then Dewey can come on whenever he wants and just break the game over. I know Dewey wouldn't like that because he's a starter.
Yep.
But I don't mind Dewey as a 14. I really don't.
I like Seyfarth on the edge. I reckon he's going to have a little breakout.
So I
season
agree.
This year.
I just reckon
I
get
he's
a few of those
looking
silly
good.
penalties out of his game. But
Yep.
when he wasn't doing that, he was an absolute handful last year.
He's got a bit of Mitch Barnett to him.
Yep.
I feel like
Agreed.
I reckon he could really round it out. this
Seems
year.
like one of those players that you just stick with. You just hang in there.
Yeah.
Get through the wild ride of getting all the shit out of his game.
Yep.
And I think you probably could come out the other side.
He's
with
got
a-
more screws loose than Mitch Barnett. He's got some work to
Yeah,
do.
but you wouldn't I think people forget how fucking out there Barnett was 3 years ago.
Mate, he was out there.
I think if you take Seyfarth, I think pull him out of the middle will actually help him to.
The real interesting one for me is the Dewey one because he's such a bloody good player.
Yep.
You want him on the field, but where do you kind of land him? I'm not sure.
I think he solves that problem at centre. I'd probably have him there. I really liked Finer's work at 14 last year, so I'd be trying to keep him as involved as we
Could
can.
you bring Olam off the bench through the middle for 20 minutes?
I don't mind that, like the kind of the Talakai kind of role.
Yeah,
just
just
get him
go
out there and
skin.
just have a crack.
Just, mate, I
don't
need
hate
line
it.
speed and just run hard.
I don't hate it, to be honest. Because it probably means he doesn't have to do as you're not relying on him as much defensively for the whole game, but he can get out there when people are a bit tired and.
Because he's too good to be Olam at his best. He's bloody
Exactly.
good.
And he was like, he'd really bring the crowd into the game last year.
Yeah.
Like every time he got it at Leichhardt or whatever, people were just going nuts.
Yeah, I think Tareva as well as you brought up. He'll be obviously coming from Penrith and whatnot. I love Skelton.
Oh, mate.
yeah.
Very excited.
Skelton and
about that
Taruva
side.
bringing the ball back.
And that's what they lack a little bit in the middle. But if you've got Bird, Skelton, Taruva, it's a lot of meters
Yep.
coming out of your own end.
And even Olam at his best coming out of his
Yeah.
own end is unbelievable.
Even Dewey's good too. When he's
Yeah.
fit, he gets 3
Yeah.
yards too. So
Isn't it crazy how much your squad has progressed that either Olam or Dewey is going to be fighting most likely over a spot? That shows you how far
Yep.
they've come. And as I said, I love Dewey. I think he is such a good footy player. And that there's going to be pressure on his spot, which again, that's a good thing for him and for the Tigers.
Yep.
The big question that the punters want to know, Kempy, and that's we start to cast our eye to Supercoach 2025, round one. Terrell May, do we just lock and load or new club? Do you to take time?
No, listen, mate, you can't rush quality. And you're out here in this time of the year trying to make guesses. I'm going to take my time, go through the numbers, drop the 2 plus 3 minus the 5, and get the answer. And I'll let you know closer to the season.
Does
Mate.
your gut tell you anything yet, or is it? Just
I don't go by gut, mate. I'm pure data, mate. I'm pure data. Don't get emotional like you, mate. I'm fucking pure down the line.
I'm all gut, and the answer's yes.
Guys, I'll know. I think there's a digital tear on these notes, and it's actually Maddie crying into the notes. Alex Johnston, multiple reports that there are multiple clubs prepared to offer AJ a deal for 26 immediately. It's understood that South will wait until he's back from his Achilles injury before any extension talks. This is one area where I'd love the NRL just go, whatever he needs to be paid to stay at the Rabbitohs, that's got to happen. Let's just break all the rules. Alex Johnston should not be at another club. I know that he's nearly left the last time I think Wayne was there, but surely he's got to break the record at the Rabbitohs. Let's not ruin that. Let's not ruin that.
It's rank, isn't it?
Oh, yuck. I
I'm really
hate it.
concerned though. As you said, Wayne,
He's made harsher decisions.
he's made heaps harsher decisions. And I mean, there was, word around that he did try and make this decision 3 years ago when he was there. So it's terrible timing for AJ that he's at the age he's at, an Achilles injury can cripple anyone, let alone someone at his age. I hope they do keep him there. But as you said, Wayne's made tougher and more brutal decisions.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I just sort of thought, first instinct was like, no. Like, he's staying at the Bunnies, he doesn't go anywhere else, it just doesn't work. And then I thought about it, and it's a ruthless business, rugby league, and you think about, let's think practically about it. Alex Johnston, he relies on speed and acceleration as a winger. And he's coming back from Achilles injury. There would be a lot of data around it, but I'd be stunned if anyone came back even close, especially in year one, to have that acceleration off the mark. He's not there for yardage, really, as a winger. You can probably get rid of him at this point, and he can probably still get a decent deal elsewhere because of his record in the game. I hate it, but I get it.
Oh, yeah. Look, I think we get it for sure. I think we all see the thinking and the process, but it just shows you, like, you watch these players be loyal their whole career, and then Achilles injuries happen, and all of a sudden that loyalty that was asked for 5 years ago, oh mate, need you to sign for less, do it for the club, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then Alex Johnson turns around and goes, oh, remember how, like, you always asked me to be loyal? Like, could you be loyal to me now? It's like, oh, sorry, it's a business. It's a business. Now, I don't know if that happened. Maybe it didn't happen, but, it has happened before in the past. What I hope is Wayne Bennett mind games, and it's to get the best out of Alex Johnson. He comes out, he has the best year of his career, and he stays at the Rabbitohs. It would just be so wrong for him to finish his career anywhere but the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, as a Laperouse Jr. Do you remember, like, when he was a teenager, he was in the NRL ad where he morphed into Greg Inglis?
Yeah.
Like, just an incredible story, AJ, and such a good fella as well. But, like, the reality is, like, he's not going to be there round one. Isaiah Tass will probably be on the wing, I assume. Jack White will be at centre. Campbell Graham comes back in. Like, you look at that back line and with young guys like Mellars and these guys that are in the squad and everything, like, I can understand it. I can make sense of why they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's just fucked up.
It's just so ruthless.
Yeah.
But I think we all agree. We can see the thought process behind it.
Like if AJ arrived at South Sydney 2 years ago and he wasn't going for this record, it makes complete sense to me. It's just everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
17 tries, he needs to break it. We reckon he can knock that off in one season?
No. I don't think so.
I hope he does, because then then if he knocks it off in this season, I'm like, look, get the best deal you can, bro.
When's he going to be playing?
Yeah, but he won't be back for a while. That's the problem.
Oh, really?
There's a few things going again. He won't be back for a while. And if Jack Whiten's playing left centre, like, I want Jack Whiten running the football.
Yeah.
I think that'll
What round did they say he's expected back? Yeah, fuck.
That's brutal.
It just stings you. I don't even like looking at it, to be honest.
No, neither.
Matty, what are your thoughts as a Rabbitohs fan?
Oh, I've got this terrible, disgusting knot in my stomach. While I agree with you, like, I get it. That's the last time I'll ever utter those words. Like, it is making me sick that he could break that record anywhere else except South. 17 tries. He's got 195. It hurt me when they kind of turfed out Nathan Merritt in 2014. Ironically, AJ took his spot, but at least they let Merritt get to his record. Merritt wasn't playing very well in 2014, and how South treated him wasn't great at the end of that year, but he wasn't playing well. But at least they let him get there. I've been too heartbroken in recent years with South letting go of people like Adam Reynolds. It's just, it makes me, it actually does make me sick.
Imagine if you went and broke it at the Roosters.
I'd probably just find another sport.
Oh, far out. Look, I guess we'll see what happens. Perfect scenario. He comes back, he kills it. He gets 1 year extension. We're all sitting here saying the world is right. The world is right. Don't forget, guys, Aussie Footy Shorts. If you want footy shorts, there's only one place to get it. It's from Aussie Footy Shorts. Go to their Instagram, give them a follow. They're footy shorts with pockets. They're high quality, the best material. They're the only place to get them. Go to aussiefootyshorts.com.au. Grab your footy shorts today. Alrighty, Matt Lodge and Lachlan Ilias. It seems that the Lachlan Ilias is almost certain to go to the Dragons next year, and Rabbitohs are reportedly considering a Matt Lodge with the money they'll free up by releasing Ilias. This Ilias to Dragons situation makes no sense. I don't get it. Not from a perspective of Ilias isn't a bloody good player, but, I don't see Kyle Flanagan getting dropped to reserve grade anytime soon. And so Ilias, Flanagan at 6 and 7, look, you could kind of see it work with Ben Hunt and Flanagan because Ben Hunt is a ball runner. He's, he can get the try assist. I just wonder that they're so similar. However, I'm very nervous to back against Flanagan because he just seems to land certain things and makes it work.
That's my big concern. You straight away go, they're so similar, but then I go, okay, one of them plays left, one of them plays right. Maybe a Damien Cook at 13. Like, it wouldn't surprise
Maybe
me if
Gutho
Flano somehow
at the back
makes it
there?
work. Yeah.
Has enough in his ball playing to kind of get around it.
Everything tells you it won't work, but I think Flano just fucking loves it when you think something's not going to work.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, boys, at all, for the simple fact that they need a halfback to partner Flanagan. And Lachlan Ilias, a mixed career today, but he's still very young. There's a long way to go in his future. We say it time and time again. Halves don't peak until they're late 20s, really. He's only going to get better with experience. And, there's a few practicalities that might not work with those two in the halves together, but I think Damien Cook probably starts the game at 9. Little probably comes on for him. I think while Damien Cook's on, you say, run, boy, run. And he's still got a terrific running game in him. And then he'll move to lock. He'll create at lock. You've got Clint Gutherson, a terrific ball-playing fullback there. He's going to create points. And I'm not saying it's the perfect combination, but they're currently going into 2025 in my eyes without a halfback. If they get Lachlan Ilias,
so do you think that? Because the only question I have then is like, so Lachlan Ilias arrives to the club, because I agree with you 100%. Like, they need someone. Like, they need someone. So just get him to the club. But I'm assuming Lachlan Ilias isn't going to leave for a 1-year deal. And so, okay, Lachlan Ilias arrives to the club. He plays with Kyle Flanagan, but they're going to go after Atkinson. I personally think Atkinson's going to land at the Dragons 26. And so then what do you do with Lachlan Ilias then?
Well, I think the beauty is Ilias, Atkinson, Flanagan, none of them are on big money. They would not be on big money. So the way I see it, like, you have depth. Let's say they get Atkinson next year and Ilias is on a 2+ year deal. You've just got competition for those half spots, and all right, who are the best two?
But if you're Ilias management, you go on, why would I go sign be a depth player? In saying that, he'd be playing first grade.
He would be playing first grade. Every chance he's
grade.
not at South Sydney.
Yeah.
And then, like, look, if Atkinson does lob there in 2026...
Because you'd probably, if you put it this way, if I was Lachlan Ilias' manager, I'd be almost like wanting a 12-month deal, because that way you can play first grade, go and get your big deal. Because there's no way that Ilias is going to get played over Flanagan the next year. Well, maybe, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Ilias, like, I know he got hurt in reserve grade, but like they weren't picking him for first grade as well. Like, I don't know where he sits at South Sydney. Like, they were playing, who's the halfback that went to Para?
Dougie Hawkins.
They were playing Hawkins over him, and didn't even re-sign him at the end of the season.
If I'm Ilias' manager, I'd be looking for a 12-month deal.
Yeah.
Only because obviously you can get security for 2-3 years, but then obviously leaving that, like, because he's probably going to be in reserve grade 26 unless he kills it and then Kyle Flanagan gets dropped. Whereas if you do a 12-month deal, I think it's super smart, because you go, all right, he's going to be playing first grade. I'll be able to get a much better deal somewhere else because you back your player in.
There's a bit of word around too that if he is in the south side this year, he potentially won't even be playing halfback too. Could be playing 9.
As in
coming off the bench.
Off the bench for South in first grade?
Apparently.
9, okay. Yeah,
just what I've heard of.
To take some minutes off. Because Mamazelis, he's not an 80-minute hooker usually.
He's not. Hawkins probably isn't an 80-minute hooker either. I'd definitely be finding a spot somewhere for Hawkins.
Is Hawkins in the top squad? I don't think he's in the hospital. You mean Dodd?
No, I mean
Dean
Hawkins not. No, sorry. No, who's the kid from Humphreys?
Humphreys,
sorry, Sorry, you got Humphreys there.
Yeah.
I'd be finding a spot for him in the team somewhere without a doubt. You have to assume if Dodd's there, they're going to pick
Humphreys
him.
suits 14 more than anyone in that squad, really, nearly. Yeah. Outside of Hillbilly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably still rather Humphreys if you can make it work with the rest of your forward pack. If he wants to play halfback in a starting side, maybe the Dragons are his best bet. I think he's very close with Damien Cook too, I believe, which I think that's playing a role in it too. So
it'll be it all makes sense. It'll just be the length of the deal that I guess will be the biggest question for me as to what happens there. Matt, I tell you what, if Flano can get a Kyle Flanagan Ilias halves pairing to work, he's an absolute master, because they are very similar. But maybe he just wants a really solid left and right players. Both got good kicking games, both got decent ball playing, and just rely on... Because Gutho's ball playing out the back is some of the best in the competition.
And that's the thing about having two sort of out-and-out number 7s in your team, mate. You play one left, you play one right. I always talk about when you've got a good 5'8", like a Matty Burton, and I sit there and say, like, let him float both sides, let him play second receiver on both sides of the field, etc. But when you've got 2 sevens, you say, mate, one plays left, one plays right, don't worry about floating across the field.
Because Gutho will do it.
Gutho, one of the fittest fullbacks in the NRL, he'll cover it, he'll be on both sides. You can get a little bit creative if you want in other areas, but you've got Valentine Holmes there. If I've got that set up, I'm going, Val, you play that roaming centre role, mate. Feel free to float across to the other side of the field and be another attacking threat out the back. I think they can make it work.
Do you think it's a long-term plan though, or do you think it's a stopgap?
Probably not. No,
Yeah.
I think it's a stopgap because they don't have a halfback. It's not to say it can't be, but those Flano and Ilias going to win you a premiership in the next 5 years? Probably not.
Yeah.
But as I said,
They're still so young. I mean, Ilias is still so young.
he's still so young.
Yeah.
So maybe he can.
Yeah.
If it does turn out to be a 1 year, in between to signing a good 5'8", like an Atkinson, I like it.
What about the young fella? I think it's Tonga, young fella coming through. He's a good 6.
Debuted at the end of the season. He looks talented, just young.
Young
raw.
as, yeah. What's his name, sorry?
King Tonga.
King Tonga. As I said, I'm not backing against Flanagan. I'm just not.
Nope.
He just seems to make it work. And, there is because, look, if they had a ball running fullback, then you'd be like, I just don't, like, they're not going to get any points.
That'd be a worry for sure.
Because you've got Gutho, who is genuinely one of the best 3-on-2 fullbacks in the competition. That does lean towards, you could make it work. Is it a premiership winning combination? I don't know. But at the very least, it can work. And I don't mind your Val Holmes shout of, like, just roaming centre, get him around the park. Matt Lodge to the Rabbitohs. Look, I'm just looking at that forward pack, all fit. I think you're pretty sweet, to be honest. That was kind of come out of nowhere for me.
I cannot believe the amount of people, I see it on social all the time, rubbishing South Sydney saying they've got no forwards.
I like their forward pack.
I like their forward pack. I think Keon playing in the middle is going to be key to it, but I think a guy like Wayne Bennett, I think he has to convince him to play there. And I mean, are we forgetting, like, Wayne Bennett, he's got a bit of a knack of getting good shit out of forwards, doesn't he?
Well, Totola is a gun, Jairo gun, Cam Murray gun, Keon gun, Atkin gun.
Yep.
Like, I like their forward pack. I think it's actually built perfectly for the modern game too. You've only got one big bopper, which is Totola.
I mean, like, how much did we all, like, even sitting on this panel looking at that Dolphins forward pack 2 years ago going, what the fuck is going on here?
And he made it work.
Wayne shocked me, gets the best out. This South pack's much better than what the Dolphins were 2 years ago.
They've just been injured. Like, Totola's played 21 games in 2 years.
Didn't even mention Moali as well, a 21-year-old young fella.
Like I think Kepi's been very underwhelming since arriving there. But in my opinion, we saw at Manly, he's talented.
Yeah, he's plenty of talent.
And I tell you what, we spoke to Cam Murray. He speaks so highly of Sean Kepi.
Yeah.
He
does.
Of course I'm going to believe him.
Is it going to shock anyone if Wayne Bennett walks in there and gets the best out of him?
I don't think Rabbitohs. I like Rabbitohs roster. Yeah. I think it's good. I think their biggest question is their 7. That's their biggest question. Who's going to be their 7?
And I mean, like, even if and it's even further down the line, but it was only 3 years ago. Josh Schuster was one of the best back rowers in the league.
I didn't even think about Schuster as well.
Like, I'm not saying he'll get back to that.
And we haven't
I'm going to bet
Duncan.
on any coach to do it. He's in that building.
Yeah. We haven't mentioned Tallis Duncan either.
Yeah.
So look, maybe Matt Lodge would be great for him. I guess what would be surprising is that Matt Lodge, the reason he didn't sign at Manly because he didn't want to sign for a assuming minimum deal. There's no way that the Rabbitohs would have money that's more than minimum. Maybe he's just willing to go there to be under Wayne.
Being under Wayne's a bit of a different. Yeah.
Wayne got him back here initially, didn't he?
Yeah. And he's doing his boxing now. So, and he said he was going to be committed to his boxing, Matt Lodge. So I don't know what's happening there. Anyway, Atkinson. The Sharks have reportedly told Daniel Atkinson management that they have no intention of releasing him 2025, even if he signs elsewhere in 26. I just don't see a way where the Sharks. I definitely, I can see them keeping him for next year because they're like, you're a gun.
Yep.
We're in the premiership business right now. There's no way we're just going to be Mr. Nice Guy and let you go, even though that sucks for Atkinson. I don't think there's any way they can keep him unless they see him as a long-term fullback and they can give him a $600K deal at fullback in 26 onwards.
Which I would love to see him jump into the one jersey at some point this year, just to see what it looks like. But I agree with you, mate. If he does sign somewhere else, there's not a hope in hell I'm even considering letting him go. As you said, premiership business next year.
Yeah.
They can win a comp. You need guys like him in the building.
Well, Trindle goes down. He's straight in. Or Hines, he's straight in.
You could even find a spot for him as a 14 off the bench. With their forward pack they've got now with AFB, you probably could afford to do it.
Yeah, I'm not so convinced that he can't be there in 2026 at all. Like let's say Nico's your 7 going forward. I don't think there's any reason. I'm not saying he will. but I don't think there's any reason why he can't succeed Braden Trindle in the halves. Potentially at fullback as well.
So you, because I agree, at fullback that's the way they could keep him, but I don't think there's any way he's staying as a reserve half.
I think I'm not saying he's now because he's not, but I'm not saying I wouldn't be stunned if he didn't jump over the top of Braden Trindle by the end of this year. Because
They just re-signed Trindle.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily. Do you know what sort of money they got him on?
Oh, decent. I'd probably be about 600k or so, I'd say.
Yeah. Look, I'm not convinced Trindle's a better footballer than Daniel Atkinson. What we saw from him this year, I think he's a gun.
Oh no, I'm with you. In regards to like talent-wise, if you had said take salary cap out of it, could Atkinson play well enough to beat Trindle out of a jersey over the next couple of years? Yes, I agree. However, I just think the fact that they re-signed Trindle and the offers Atkinson's going to get elsewhere, because he'll probably get minimum 600k.
Because he
at another club.
He can definitely be a 14, but as you said, he probably wants to be a starter moving forward.
Yeah.
As you said, how good can he be at fullback? I haven't seen enough of him do it. So, but like I don't want to sound harsh to Will Kennedy. I won't say there's a spot there. There's an opportunity there if he can make that transition.
I think if you look at that spine, I think Kennedy would even know he needs a big preseason and first few rounds, because that's the biggest pressure spot in that spine is the fullback's position.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where, I assume it'll be halves, but like where Atkinson plays in the preseason, if they sort of sit there going, all right, let's put a bit of extra pressure on Kennedy and increase our depth there. Yeah. Or if they put him...
Because if you train him if you train him at fullback, it's a very different preseason to if you train him at halves. And you've got to make the tough call as Sharks of what's more important, putting Atkinson at fullback or having a half in the ranks just in case one of our halves go down that's ready to go immediately.
Probably the half depth, because you've also got like Cade Dykes will be fit as well, so he's sort of the fullback depth and the competition to Kennedy.
Yeah.
In April, the reported figure, Cronulla have re-signed halfback Braden Trindle on a 3-year deal worth more than 2.5 million.
Holy hell.
So let's say it's 2.5, that's 800 a season. That's a lot of bickie.
That's a wicket.
800.
I mean,
bit more than
bargain compared to what Joey was saying he was worth, but it is a lot of money though. Yeah, I think it's.
I would have had Trindle around the 600 mark at this stage.
If that's if that's only
accurate.
reportedly, obviously, but
jeez, that's a show of faith from the Sharkies. Wow,
that's in my opinion, that's halfback money.
Yeah, wow, okay.
That's a very adamant headline as well from Sydney Morning Herald. Like it's that saying, no, he has signed worth more than 2.5 million.
Yeah,
there's no reportedly.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, these things, I have been in clubs where the reported figure is much different to the actual figure, so maybe it's a little bit inflated, but we don't know. We just don't know.
At least thereabouts.
Yeah, look, I think it probably lands around this, at minimum 650 a year kind of ballpark. In regards to Atkinson, I reckon the Dragons are just going to be like, here's 700k, here's a 3-year deal, we need you as our 6.
Yep.
Thanks for coming. I just don't know how the Sharks are going to be able to keep a guy like Atkinson either as a 14 or a reserve half going forward, which sucks for the Sharkies because, unfortunately, like there is that question, as you were kind of alluding to, Timmy, is like, did you make the right decision? Like, Trindle could go on and kill it, but Atkinson could also go to another club and kill it, and you had him at, and you've decided to go the Trindle route. What an incredible position the Sharks find themselves in, where they've been able to develop a guy like Atkinson, develop a guy like Trindle, and they're such sought-after players, and they came essentially through their reserve grade. I know Atkinson was at Melbourne for a year or two, but he had to go back to Queensland Cup and then go back to the Sharkies rather than get signed from the Melbourne Storm. And Trindle, they've been super patient with Trindle, and he's been patient with them as well. Their development has been pretty... that whole team at the Sharkies essentially came through together in Newtown.
And I'm super confident if Cade Dykes can just keep his body together for a year, he'll be in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah, Sharkies have done so well. As I said, the good thing is they've options. They've re-signed Trindle, but they've got Atkinson waiting in the wings. If you're going for a premiership push, you need guys like Atkinson that are putting pressure on Trindle and Hines. And I'm stoked for Atkinson as well, because there's going to be a big deal for him somewhere. Where it is, it's going to be a big deal somewhere. Alrighty, Val Holmes has been quoted indicating that he will be playing centre in 25. I think we kind of all expected that, him to be playing centre. But seeing the pictures earlier, seeing him and Cookie in the Dragons kit, geez, coming into this year, the fact they've got Holmes, Gutho and Cookie, it's just crazy. They've done so well. They've done so... Like, I know the key is the 7 for sure, and that's the big question. But outside of that, that's pretty bloody good.
I'm really excited about them. I don't have them in my top 8, but fuck, I feel like they're just destined for 9th. They'll be relevant. They'll hang around there. It won't be pretty. They'll be inconsistent. It'll be up and down. But you'll get to the end of the season again and go, they're here.
Yeah.
They're not going to roll over. As you said, we all expect Val Holmes to play centre. I am so interested to see what happens with his defence because I cannot see Flano accepting what they were getting in North Queensland.
Yeah.
And we'll talking about it pre-show. Like, it's not like he's always been an average defensive centre. It's sort of started to appear in his game in the last few years.
I think they'll get it sorted.
Yeah.
I really do. I have so much faith in Val Holmes. Like 2 years ago, he was, not the best defensive centre in the NRL, but I reckon he was top 5 or so. It just fell off a cliff the last sort of probably season and a half. And, he's not that old by any means. He's a smart enough
29.
footballer. Yeah, Flano there. I'm confident that he'll get his defensive woes sorted. Maybe not back to where it was, but not what we've seen in the last 18 months. It was just such a blip on his radar.
Yeah. Well, the good thing for Val is, like, physically he is still super explosive, getting through a bunch of work. And so his defence isn't because he's not physically up to it. It's just purely, his reads in that in defence sometimes. So I've got confidence that Flano would be able to sort it. I really do. Alrighty, time for Beaks Bag from Elliot Davis. Don't forget, guys, leave a comment asking us a question, and then each week we pick one question and we give them a $50 Bloke gift voucher. Elliot, shoot matt@blokeinabar.com an email to get your $50 voucher. The question is, the Pappenhausen chat around around missed Origin opportunity gave me this idea. Who are some of the unluckiest players who missed their shot at Origin due to injury or other players being in their position? I mean, the number 9 jersey for Queensland is like a guy like a Matty Bell, and I know he did end up playing. He did debut for Queensland, I think. Pretty sure he did. Yeah, but that's a guy where it's just like, how do you get into that spot?
Yeah.
Like, how do you, Cam Smith, essentially every year of his career was either the best hooker or, second by the tiniest ever margin. There was never really a year where you watch Cam Smith and said, oh, geez, he's not going well this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have a look at Aaron Payne's career. Like, I always thought for the North Queensland Cowboys, he's a guy that could have played Origin, but just never even got a look in because Cameron Smith was there
Just
the entire
locked
time.
in.
Yeah,
Locked
his
in.
career was 02 to 12. Like, fuck.
Like, even what's crazy is, like, even some of the best had pressure on them around their spots in Origin, like even Darren Lockyer, even Thurston and that. Cam Smith is really one of the only guys that he went in and he had there was never a year where it was like, should Cam Smith be selected?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
No question mark, yeah. For me, I'll probably look from a New South Wales point of view, early, mid-2000s. I always thought Brent Sherwin and Matt Orford. Very unlucky to never play Origin. Obviously came that era of, Joey, Freddie, these sort of guys. But yeah, especially,
Sherwin early 2000s was unbelievable.
Sherwin has probably the best short kicking game I've ever seen in my life. Like, he was an absolute freak. Like, Mace won that Clive Churchill medal. You go back and watch that game. Sherwin turned that game on its head. He was incredible. I mean, so much so they had Thurston in the squad and went, we're good.
Well, basically, they had a decision to sign Sherwin long-term or keep Thurston, and they went...
And at the time, no one said shit.
No,
he was killing it.
He was killing it.
He was a very good player, Shifty, and Matt Orford right up there as well. They're the two that come to mind for me.
Here's one for me just quickly. Actually, sorry, I don't want to steal it. You might be about to say it.
All right. No, I reckon I'll be all right. I reckon I'll be covered. But look, you've covered a couple of Queensland hookers. You've gone to the halves there. I'll go to the outside backs at the Blues. And one that always comes to mind in this conversation, and obvious bias, but Jared Croker in the peak of his career couldn't get a start. But I'll go another one on top of that, and it's Chris Lawrence just early on in his career. That bloke was just destined for Origin football. One of the quickest players the game's seen. A terrific football. Obviously started out or had a long career at the Tigers. And just injuries just plagued him. He was made for Origin, but just had such a tough run of injuries that saw him obviously make that transition into the forwards, into the back row, in the back end of his career. But played 6 tests for Australia, but couldn't get a crack for the Blues.
I got one, and I know he ended up playing, I think, 8 games, but I think Brett Stewart, just in the grand scheme of things of it was the Billy Slater era, and I'm not talking necessarily about Origin, just how good he was as a fullback. Like, when you talk about GOAT fullbacks, his name doesn't get brought up as much as I'm not saying that he should be considered the greatest of all time. However, there were years where he was going toe-to-toe with Billy Slater, like genuinely toe-to-toe. And he's a guy that I think that, doesn't get enough appreciation, Brett Stewart.
Yeah.
Well, he's one guy as well that you could say, like he was very unlucky throughout his career, but like if Anthony Minicello wouldn't have got injured in 05, it would have been even harder for him to get in. Like it was a very good era for those particular positions.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I think he did play 5 Origins, but I thought Scott Prince came through in the wrong era.
Oh, yeah.
Legitimately. He just got stuck behind Thurston, I guess, coming through at the same time. So he did fill in from time to time, but most other eras, I reckon he probably would have played a lot more.
Yep.
I remember growing up in Canberra, a lot of Canberra fans were really pissed off that Alan Tongue never got a look in.
The great
very
Alan
consistent.
Tongue. Yeah.
I don't know. Had a bit of dog in him. Probably not like an absolute out and out superstar, but probably deserved a crack at some point there, particularly through a bit of a lean patch for New South Wales. But yeah, I reckon Scott Prince is my big one that I reckon should have played a lot more.
Matty?
I got a couple. Obviously, South Spice, Johnny Sutton. He was actually in Origin camp, I think it might have been 2013, and he had a train off with Josh Reynolds and missed out, which was devastating. I actually reckon one of the more unlucky players of all time was extremely recently, Jordan McLean.
Yeah.
Finally gets his shot and does his hammy during camp. Never got to play again. And we all kind of knew at the time that he probably wasn't ever going to get picked again. That interview was heartbreaking. So, yeah, those two for me.
One that may go down, you obviously still got a long way to go, but one that was very, very close, Reed Marnie. And then remember what happened there? He got sent back to club, got injured, and then he would have played if he wasn't injured.
He's the one, like we were talking about Blake Moser before, like unless there's injuries, I think Reed Marnie could be incredibly unlucky.
Yeah, because you've got, obviously Grant has got that lockdown.
Him and Pappy for me are just... Yeah.
Tough. And what's weird for Pappy is like now, because he missed it, he doesn't get brought up again. And you're like, he was this close. He's still he's the fullback for the team that made the grand final. Like
he's already got a club church.
He's not like he's not playing good footy anymore. Anyway.
I got one more quick one. I didn't see him play that much, bit old for me, but everyone says Nathan Blacklock should have played Origin.
Yeah.
And just looking at his highlights, you can't go against it.
Highlights unbelievable. Don't forget, guys, Beaks Bag. Leave your comment, leave a question. We pick one each week, and the winner gets a $50 Bloke gift voucher. Alrighty, guys, I've got a question for you. What is one stadium in the world that you haven't been that you would like to attend and watch a sporting event there?
Straight away, I'm an NFL fan. I always think the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, I think it's AT&T Stadium, looks unreal. That's probably the one that I would lean towards.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've ticked off a couple of bucket lists in the last 2 years, and that was a Lord's Ashes test, Wimbledon, and I went to a college NFL game last year, November, which was about 110,000 people. The couple that come to mind for me are probably Wembley Stadium, going to big clash over there, and then I've been to Camp Nou in Barcelona.
I've been there too. Wow.
But not to a game. I went
same.
for like a tour and that. I'd love to go to it. Like to go to an El Clasico there against Real Madrid would be unreal.
See, I went on a tour to Camp Nou, but I went to an El Clasico at the Bernabeu, the Madrid stadium.
God.
It was like, I cannot express, like, some of my greatest ever memories in my life were away with the wife at Europe, and just that whole experience of going to the game, walking together in the kit, and the way you actually get the tickets. So basically, what happens is that to get tickets to an El Clasico, you have to essentially, membership tickets, but because it's so hard to get tickets, they're like passed down through families. Like, that's how hard it is. So we paid so much money to get these tickets, but what they is you've got to give them your address of your hotel. They mail them to you. It's actually quite risky, and it's not even a ticket. It's actually a full-on hard membership disc. Anyway, so you go in and you sit down, and it's risky too, because you pay the money and they could just not send it, and you'd be stuffed. Anyway, so we got our tickets from our hotel. We go to the grounds. We sit down, and this little Spanish dude just walks up, grabs the tickets off you, walks off. And they're just his tickets that he would be making a mozza off each week to go to the El Clasico. And they're just membership tickets that I'm assuming have been passed down from, generation to generation. And going to it and just watching that game was incredible. And Real Madrid I think it was 3-0 or 3-1 or whatever. And the announcer, and you get these white I guess, just white pieces of paper that you've got to hold up. And every time the opponent, so every time there's this little area that the away team fans go, it's like tiny and up in the corner. Anytime any noise was made from them, the whole crowd booed. The whole crowd booed, so you couldn't hear anything from the corner.
Did this old Spanish fella, was he calling you Senor Beak?
Yes, Senor Beak.
A lot of the events that I'd like to get to thus far, like a lot of cricket ones, I've ticked a fair few off, but I'd love to do an IPL game in India, in one of those big full stadiums, just like the noise and the show that they kind of put on for those. Maybe Eden Gardens in Calcutta. I'm a big Calcutta Knight Riders fan, like yourself, Kempy.
Yep. What a name, Knight Riders.
Yeah,
unbelievable. It's a great name.
Yeah. They won it last year, but I reckon just being one of those big stadiums when they're full of IPL fans, because that seems to be the form of the game that Indian fans gravitate towards. Like they fill up those stadiums that you got the best players in the world there as well, so I'd love to get over for one of those one day.
Yeah. What about you?
Lord's Ashes is by far and away the one for me. Nothing comes close, and don't really have to, explain too much on that one. But the one event that's kind of random that I'd love to go to is the Hong Kong Sevens.
Yeah.
Apparently it's just the funnest weekend ever. Bailey Simonson was here talking about it. Everyone who I know who's been there says it's like the best weekend ever. So I'd love to go to that one. But yeah, the answer for me is Lords.
I'd love to go. We went there. I think it's Monaco, the little tiny country over in. I think it's like a
south of France there.
F1. I'd love to go there for the F1. So we actually went there. We went there, and what's crazy is when you cross the border, because I'm pretty sure it's its own little country or whatever.
Yeah.
And it got a message from Telstra, and it was like, every 1 gig is $100. Like it's super expensive there. As soon as you walk into it, it's this tiny little country, like in beautiful views, but there's Ferraris everywhere, like just for rich people.
If you could somehow jag a spot on one of them, the front of the super yachts that looks over the track, and that'd be like.
I'd love to do an F1, and so and I don't know that much about it. I've only ever watched the Netflix documentary, but just having gone there and seen what it's like, and then imagining an F1 series there, it's just be so incredible.
Thought for poor old Kempy trying to stream a Warriors versus Titans game on his phone at $100 a gigabyte.
Mate, killing me.
Max Verstappen locked up another title last night as well.
Oh, did he? Spoiler alert! I want to wait until the Netflix doco, mate. Jeez Louise. All right, let us know in the comments section. What is a stadium or a sporting event you would love to go to that you haven't gone to? All righty, Bolle has re-signed with the, I hope I'm saying that right, with the West Tigers. Great re-signing. I love this. I'm assuming they would have got him for a pretty good price, but what I liked about Bolle is he just seems to have been improving each year, especially at a side, and I know it's not good to hear as a Tigers fan, but over a period of time where so many players have either struggled or there's been a lot of dramas going on, Bolle always rocks up, rips and tears. He's been working on his game. And so imagine how good he's going to be once everything settles down. Imagine how good he's going to be once Luai arrives and people around him begin to lift their standards, just like he's had high standards, even though the club hasn't been going so well. Now, whether they play him at 13 or in the front row, I actually think he's beginning to really suit the front row of the modern game. Him with a 1-2 punch of Terrell May, I don't mind that at all, but I think it's a great re-signing for the Tigers.
Yeah, I think it's a great one. I believe also he had an offer from the Melbourne Storm, and he chose to stay at the West Tigers.
Wow.
I read that this morning. So if so, credit to the West Tigers. Once again, considering the position they find themselves in, they're making a lot of good moves.
Yeah, and to be able to convince him to, if he had an offer from the Storm and he's turned that down, wow.
Read into that what you will. I just read that this morning. So a very good knock there. And I agree, mate. I think long term, I'd be trying to make Matamua my 13 and have Bolle just through the middle.
Sure, boys. Great re-signing, and definitely a prop forward for me. Like, can obviously play lock if required, and you just nailed it, Kempy. Just the modern day front rower, just that. I don't want to say small because he's built like a brick shithouse, but he's not a massive, tall, big bopper sort of thing. Like, I think he suits that front row slot nicely. Get more of a ball playing 13 like a Matamua in there, Guru, and a great get for them. Another one like Terrell May, he can knock out 60 minutes quite easy. Like, he's a big minute middle forward and goes a long way.
Yeah, and also he's ball playing. Although it's not like a Isaiah Yeo level, he's got decent hands. So that little tip on in the middle that he can.
Well, that's it. Like, whether or not it's good enough to match like the higher tiered ball playing locks in the game, probably not. But you put him at the front row, and I look at like Junior Borlo and a few other like key front row forward ball players and how big a role that can have.
Yeah.
Perfect for that.
Yeah, and great for Terrell. If you can Terrell May a defensive position wider, I mean, tackling him one-on-one is hard enough as it is if it's just a one off the ruck. But if you've got Bolle and him always working in pairs, kind of like Carrigan Haas, they're always in pairs. All of a sudden, it makes both jobs easier.
Yeah, great re-signing. Destination club. Why would you want to leave? Why would you want to go to the Storm? We're building towards something special here. I like it. I think it's a good little rotation, as you say, with Terrell May. I still would love another front row if we can get one before the season starts. But certainly a pretty good base to start off having those two guys around. And I know a lot of other clubs were interested in him. So a great sign if we're able to start keeping some guys.
What I like the most about Bolle as a player, and it says a lot about his character, is that, again, it's been such tough times at the club, but very rarely do you ever watch a game and you go, oh, Bolle, he catted it. He didn't have a dig. Like, he didn't rip and tear. And to be doing that when things aren't going well, like even some of the star players, like, I know Lockie Galvin's probably a bad example because he's a teenager, but even he was like, I don't know if I want to be here. Meanwhile, you've got guys like Bolle who are probably on minimum contracts, ripping and tearing in the middle there. Like, that's a really good attitude to have when things aren't going your way. And then to hear that other clubs are interested and he's like, nah, I want to stay at the Tigers. Like, those are kind of players that if he keeps developing, becomes one of the most loved players at clubs because fans remember, let's say you guys go on and you make the 8 in a couple of years' time and he's killing it. Fans are actually going to remember and appreciate him more for the work he did when you weren't killing it than when you are killing it, because it's a lot harder to rock up and rip and tear when you're at the bottom of the table than it is when everyone loves you, you're in the 8, everything's exciting. It says a lot about his character. I think they've really got a good one there. And if it's true the Storm were interested in him, that says like fucking a million things, because that says that like Storm signed character before physical attributes. And yeah, I think it's great. I love it. And it's a testament to, although there's still a few things I think needed cleaning up in the administration of the Tigers, and that's a hangover from past administrations, it is another tick for them in regards to recruitment. Like a guy that other people were interested in, that, he's been here through the tough times. Very easy for him to go, you know what, like I've won 3 spoons or 2 spoons, I'm out here. Didn't do that. He's got faith in the direction the club's going. So, yeah, I think it's a great re-signing. Leo Thompson and Brailey to a degree. Now, Brailey, I reckon there's a good chance he might end up the Eels. I think he would be so good at the Eels. But it's just been one of those weird ones where he's actually contracted. Depends who you talk to of like, no, he's actually going to stay at the Knights. And then other people you talk to say, oh, no, actually, he's going to be on the open market. So I'm not sure what's happening there. But the Leo Thompson one, that's getting more interesting by the day for me, because for a player that, yes, he has played for the Kiwis, and yes, he's had some good games, but he hasn't really reached his potential yet. There's still a lot of interest in him. There's still a lot of noise around him, and he hasn't re-signed yet. And yet his own brother, I'm pretty sure, is now at the club. And you would have think, well, if his brother's come to the club, surely he's re-signing, but he hasn't yet. Very interesting to see what's happening there.
Yeah, for sure. And, as you said, mate, he's had good games here and there. I've just always thought eye test, he looks special to me. I'd be happy to back my gut in and go big on him. And I think a few clubs are. Is he just trying to get some more coin out of Newcastle potentially? Like, does he know with Dan Saifidi gone now that they like? Are
they trying to lowball him? But then it's like, why are you lowballing your main front rower?
Yeah, because personally, like if Newcastle lose him, I am seriously concerned up there. And if I'm, once again, don't come for me Newcastle, but if I'm KP and he leaves, I'm going, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, and
I've lost Saifidi, I've lost him.
And you lost your under-19 New South Wales front rower a couple of years ago.
Losing Mitch Barnett, like in hindsight, like 2 years later, he's an Australian rower. Like,
that is concerning. The biggest concern for me is the fact that his brother's there and he hasn't re-signed yet.
Really interesting, isn't it? Like, you'd think those two boys would just be dying to get. Obviously, Tyrone Thompson is on a development deal with the Knights, but the opportunity for those two to play together, and as you said, with Saifidi leaving, there's obviously an opportunity there, and there's minutes there and all that.
There's got to be money there. There's got to be money in the cap there for him. And yet, I just wonder, is there a big dog club that's currently wooing him and going, here's a big contract and also a really good opportunity to potentially win comps? Because, again, I don't think he's hit his potential, but I agree with you, Roo. There is an eye test there. There is something there that I think he could be the main man of a forward pack.
And like Tyrone Thompson isn't, his little brother who's getting a contract to keep Leo. He's played for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
Like, he's taken a big career jump to go to the
Very
Knights.
strange.
Is he currently? Well, he's not obviously not currently. But like, how recently was the All Blacks?
2022, so not that long ago.
He's a bloody good player. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
he's
like he's just a little bloody,
You
brother.
don't trip
is-
into an All Blacks jersey.
Yeah. Very weird. Surely it's got to be about the length of the deal or the size of the deal. Because as if you'd want to, like, why would the brother go there when I'm sure there are plenty of clubs that could probably take a punt on the brother.
Yeah.
And also, if they did take a punt on the brother, it would increase the likelihood of getting Leo Thompson there as well. Very strange. Maybe it's because they've got, is it O'Sullivan's there now?
Yep.
And then obviously Peter Parr. Oh, did Peter
Parr.
Parr move on?
No, I don't think so.
Don't think so? Okay. So you got O'Sullivan and Parr. So you've got some of the best in the business running the joint. In regards, okay, let's brainstorm. If he is leaving, where could he end up? Like, he could end up at the Tigers. He could end up bloody.
Like that.
I hate to say it, but like I look at him and I've said it for a while. I think he'll be the next like JWH, James Harris. I think he looks like that sort of dude. So
Roosters?
wouldn't shock me. The
Roosters
Roosters
need a middle.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
the
was-
Roosters need him. Like, without Terrell May now, they desperately need him.
No Terrell, no JWH.
Could that be holding it up? Could that be holding up the fact that it's the fucking Roosters
And
offering
could
him?
that tie into the whole? I said they've let go of Terrell May, and we were sort of sitting there, all right, is that Ben Hunt money?
Yeah.
Leo Thompson coming into this. It
And
makes sense, wouldn't it?
It would make sense that, if the whole time we've been sitting here saying, well, Terrell May was, released to free up money for Benny Hunt, when in reality it was to get a guy like
In
Thompson.
saying that,
Surely you keep Terrell.
why would you get rid of Terrell May to get Leo Thompson?
That hasn't hit his potential
Seems
yet.
a bit stupid. But
However, maybe it's just a style of play, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Because they play very differently. Like, Terrell May and Thompson are very different front rowers. But I wouldn't be getting rid of Terrell for
taking
nearly
Terrell
anyone.
every day of the week.
Nor would I, but if it is the Roosters, for example, they have always loved to have that enforcer. Like, they went from Adrian Morley to Jared. Like that.
He's a lot more similar to Hargraves than
100%.
Terrell is. And so it might not even be about who's better. It might just be purely about style of play
Yeah.
that they're looking at.
Peter Parr is still the Knights, but the Dragons were chasing him for CEO a
that's
couple months
what I
ago.
thought
So
that.
It's like the other team that's been thrown around is your mob, the Raiders. And you got so many
Yeah,
middles.
need more
I just think
forwards,
it'd be
for God's sake.
surely.
You got Papali'i probably last year or so.
Sure.
And then you've got Mariora. Is that how you say it? Mariota.
Yep.
Tarpany, Corey Horsburgh. Got Hutto on the edge. We got.
Hoskins come
Get
back.
Hosking
I
back.
don't know if we need another.
You got there's a fellow, another guy, Ryan
Mooney.
from England.
Trey
you got
Mooney as well.
You got
Yeah.
Smithies. Like,
We've got a lot of forwards.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't know. But in saying that, we've spoken about this with the Canberra Raiders before. If they can't get those strike outside backs, and you have to lean into your pack, sure.
Yeah. Him and Tarpany, though. I mean, they do play Kiwis together.
But yep,
There's also the yarn about the Warriors
yep.
with Fish going there.
The Eels looking for some front rows.
Yeah.
ICG.
See, I think there's a chance he lands at the Warriors because of Fish.
How could they afford both of them plus Barnett? Are they a bit forward heavy in their cap then?
Well, yeah, potentially. Potentially. I'm just trying to think, like, when you look at their cap,
A lot of young dudes in there.
yeah,
I reckon they'd have more
money than
we
you think. Because
Yeah.
they just lost SJ as well, and Tomato Martin's not going on a big wicket. Metcalf would be on not a big wicket.
You got to remember, like, Fish didn't get lured over there with a multi-million-dollar
Yeah,
deal.
it was a
He
family
wanted to
thing.
go there.
Yeah. Geez, him and Fish.
Yeah.
It's a scary
And, like,
front
they
row.
took a chance on Barnett. Yeah, he's a Kangaroos front rower now, but when they signed him a couple of years ago, it wasn't. Like,
Yeah. And I think Barnett probably, what do you reckon, about 700 they got him on? 750? Because they re-signed him before he made his Origin debut, didn't
maybe
they?
less.
I reckon
Yeah.
a bit less.
Less?
Yeah. Definitely worth that now, but I reckon they would have got him on less.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, the Thompson, look, I hope he stays at the Knights because I'd be really disappointed for him if they lost him. It's just so strange he hasn't re-signed yet. Like,
bizarre. Yeah.
He's front rowers are so hard to come by.
Well, the other one to watch too is, and like as we've seen with this Ben Hunt situation, like the Dolphins have got money. We still don't know what's going on with Tom Flegler as well.
Yeah.
Like where his career is at and whatnot. So that could be an option as well.
Brailey, what do you reckon's going on with Brailey? Depends who you talk to.
Fuck, mate, the messaging out of Newcastle is just bizarre. It almost sounds a bit divided up there. Like, you hear different things about different players all the time. You know, I personally thought the year that he got injured and Phoenix Crossland jumped in there at 9, I thought he was tremendous. For him to then finish last year as their starting halfback, I thought was odd. I almost think value-wise, I think I'd rather have Phoenix at 9 and move Brailey on.
Yeah, it's tough though, because then Phoenix came out this year at 9. He struggled a little bit at the start of the year. And so it's like... but he played the Kiwis. He was all right. I know he had 1 or 2 errors here or there, but he was pretty good for the Kiwis at 9.
But is he your halfback?
Yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do think that if you're Eels, you're going pretty hard at Brailey.
I think it'd be a great get for the Eels.
Perfect, exactly what they needed for Dylan Brown and Mitch Moses.
I think Brailey could be one of the signings of next season. Like, people got to remember, firstly, he's 28 years old. He went to the Knights. He was club captain at a fairly young age. And he's had injuries. Did an ACL, did an Achilles. No one comes back from these within 1 season and kills it. He's a high-quality number 9. He can play 80 minutes, tucks his ass off.
Yep.
Decent enough running game.
Good off the field as well.
Great off the field. I just think wherever he lands, he's going to be undervalued.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
I think we touched on it maybe last week, whenever, but I think Parramatta would be a perfect landing spot for him.
Mate, him with Mitch Moses and Brown.
Hate to be boring and rinse and repeat, but if the Roosters are looking to move Brandon Smith on,
he suits that as
got
well.
money,
Yeah. Alrighty, let's face it.
Lachlan Ilias has officially signed with the Dragons for 2 years.
Okay, 2 years. Yeah, okay. This is not too long. Where it's a bit of safety for him, but also he gets to play first grade, get himself on the market and increase his value. When you're playing reserve grade, your value just bloody plummets.
Yep.
And so smart from his management, in my opinion, just to get him somewhere in first grade, playing first grade.
Yeah.
All right. Face the music. Brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet.
Unprecedented scenes on Face the Music this week. Breaking new ground. It's that time of the year.
Yep.
Aussies aren't playing for another. They've got a week off after they probably lose this test at the time of recording. So I've thrown it open to the panel. They can choose whatever they want to put one bet on across the week of sport. I'll take the new ball just a pad to give you guys a bit of time to think about what you want to do. But I'm looking at the Black Caps versus England Test Series kicking off on Thursday. Sorry to potentially cut your grass there, Kempy, Mr. Cricket. First test is at Hagley Oval down in Christchurch. Tim did a quick recce of it the other day when you were over there. How'd it look? How'd the deck look?
Firm deck, very bouncy.
There you go. Well, New Zealand obviously did a job on India. Clean sweep recently, 3-0. I think they're going to be too good for England at home. England obviously lost their series to Pakistan over there as well. So New Zealand, they're $2.03. England at $2.05. The draw's $11, but I'm going on New Zealand, the Black Caps, to win the first test of that series, kicking off this Thursday. What do you got, Kempy?
Yeah, it's crazy as you took the words right out of my mouth. That's the craziest part about all this. How we could be in sync like that.
Yep.
Mate, New Zealand 13+.
Okay. Yep. Sure.
I'm going to jump over to the NFL tomorrow. Give me Baltimore to beat the Chargers. Give me the King, Derrick Henry, for a touchdown.
Okay.
And
Little same gamer.
I'm going to go for a bit of value. Give me Quinton Johnston to score too. I think you get about $7.50 for that.
Okay.
But how come he gets like 3 fucking points?
Well, I said you could put whatever you want on.
Oh, okay.
I got a question for you.
Go on.
Firstly, because is it like one market, 1 point, or is it odds based? Because if it's one market, 1 point, I'm going to the AFLW Grand Final. I'm going North Melbourne's Mia King to get 15 or more disposals at $1.14. That's my play. But
why are we so? This is negative players like Marnus playing around the weekend.
Well, how's it work?
You're going like $1.20 favourites, mate.
Or can I go to the Winterbottom Stakes over in WA, the horse racing, Lady Laguna at $7? Like,
go that. That's a bit of guts about it.
Is in. Thank you. Yours.
Got a bit of guts about it. I'm betting a winger to score a try this game. Bloody hell.
If it's worth the same as a front row scorer, then it's smart punting. Just trying to get some value for the punter.
Lady Laguna is in.
The value is in Mia King.
I don't know why you thought you'd even get remotely close to winning the argument, Timmy. You're swimming upstream.
I just thought I'd test it.
I'm going over Premier League. Man City, we're witnessing the downfall. They lost 4-0 overnight to Tottenham. Liverpool on top of the league by about 9 points. They had a scare overnight, but they still won. Liverpool, $2.20 to beat Man City.
I like that.
Okay, nice.
Okay, we've got a couple of $2 pops, got a bit of value over on that side of the table as well. It's a good point you raise. I think if your bet gets up, you're going to accrue the points for the value that you spat out there. So, yeah, That's Face the Music.
That's Face the Music, brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Don't forget, guys, head over to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab your coffee. We are back up and running the ground either today or towards the end of the week. But yeah, Grumpy Coffee is back. Get the best coffee in the nation. grumpycoffee.com.au and turn that frown upside down. And as usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
Bo Webster, 55 not out.
Easy.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.